Mrs. Torres, step forward, please.
Juanita Nuno is suing her daughter, Carolyn Torres, for a loan to bail her grandson out of jail. Juanita says she may lose her home to foreclosure.
Ms. Nuno, this is your daughter, and according to your complaint, you made your daughter a series of loans. She hasn't paid you back. Your daughter says, yes, it's true that you gave her some money. They were gifts. You do that to all your relatives, and you're singling her out for repayment of these gifts because she had a fight with your other daughter. Is that right, Miss Torres?
Yeah, that's right.
What did I just say?
I owe her money, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. They're gifts. To me, they're gifts. I heard what you just said.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Did you have anything to drink today?
No, I don't drink.
Use any drugs today?
No, I don't.
Well, then explain to me what your problem is, Miss Torres.
I don't have a problem.
Who is that?
My kid's father.
Do you live with him?
When I want to, I don't know, when I want him there, I guess.
Step up, sir. What's your name?
Anthony Torres.
How long have you been with Miss Torres?
About 20, 21 years, off and on.
Do you work?
Yeah.
Does your wife suffer from a disability?
No.
Well, is there something wrong with her today? She seems to be out of sorts today.
Well, because I don't think she should be suing me, that's why.
Why did you agree to come here?
I don't know.
Did you discuss coming here with your wife, Mr. Torres?
Yeah.
Why did she come?
Because it's a lawsuit and she needs to come.
Juanita Nuno says her daughter, Carolyn Torres, owes for a loan for bail. Juanita says she posted her grandson's bond after he was arrested for burglary.
Now, if you've been with Mrs. Torres for 20-some-odd years, then you are the father of this young man who got himself into trouble last year?
Yes, I am.
And the first loan, according to you, Ms. Nuno, was for bail for your grandson.
Yes, it was.
What was he arrested for?
The jack broke into a school.
So he's arrested for burglary?
Yeah.
Did you call your mother and ask her for bail?
Yeah.
What did you say to her?
He called her first, though. He called and I called after.
Who called?
I think my son called first, and then my niece called me, and then I called her back.
And when you called your mother, what did you say to her?
Bail him out. I don't have the money.
And what did she say to you?
She said, what happened? I explained to her what happened. The jack broke into a school. So can you bail him out? She doesn't put it out, so I figured to do him.
Why didn't you bail him out?
Like I said, I don't have the money.
Well, how do you support yourself?
By his child support checks.
You live together. Why does he send you child support checks?
Well, when I want to get, I'll call him. He doesn't really live with me.
Miss Nuno, you really expect her to pay you back?
Yes.
From what?
She applied for Social Security, and she was supposed to...
What was the nature of her disability?
She has arthritis in the spine. That's inherited. It comes down the line. All of us have it. So she applied for Social Security disability.
Yeah.
And they were going to grant it to her. All she needed to do was take a physical exam.
So you expected her to pay you back out of her disability from the government?
Well, not only from that, but from my son-in-law. And I believe him because he never lies.
Well, did he promise to pay you back?
He said he would pay me back. He would pay the bonds people, so that would be good enough.
Is that right, sir?
Yeah, that's right.
So why didn't you pay her?
I didn't have the chance to do it.
It's a year and a half ago, almost 2 years. When are you going to do it?
As soon as I can.
So after they didn't pay you the $1,600, 6 months later you gave her another $2,000. You want to tell me why?
Because I beat her daughter. That's why. That's exactly what happened. She lent me money to move out because I beat her daughter for stealing my child support.
No, Judge Judy.
Yes, that's what happened.
I billed Anthony out in November.
You got $1,600, Ms. Nuno. What's the $2,000 for?
For getting me out of her house. I was staying with her for 2 months.
Why were you staying there for 2 months?
Because my stupid son, we lost our house in Redlands, so I had to go move in with her because of what he did.
How many other children did you move in with?
5.
How old are your children?
15, 14, 10, and 3. And my son, Anthony, that's 18. He's 18.
You have a 3-year-old child?
Yes, I do.
How did you, with your terrible disability, have a 3-year-old child?
I guess. I don't know how. Well, how else am I going to have a kid?
Judge Judy, you wouldn't believe it. You will not believe this. I had her put in a convent in Mexico. I had tried to educate her day one, and you know...
That's what she went wrong when she sent me to Mexico. She never should have ever sent me to Mexico when I was 10 years old. Never.
Do you have anything you want to say to me, sir?
He didn't say nothing.
No.
I'm not speaking to you.
Well, he's not going to say anything.
I'm not speaking to you!
He still won't say nothing, no.
I'm not speaking to you.
Well, I'm speaking to you. I'm telling you, he won't say nothing.
Listen to me very carefully, Miss Torres. You've already shamed yourself in front of a lot of people.
I don't care.
You have a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old who can all understand everything that's going around them. I feel very sorry for them, and I guarantee you that if you live alone with your children now, I'm putting in a call to social services to go and monitor your home if these children are in fact living with you. Are they living with her? Are the children living with her?
Yeah.
Well, somebody's going to monitor it. You're not there, is that right?
Most of the time, no.
Listen, Ms. Nuno, there is no question in my mind that having spent 10 minutes with your daughter, you had no reasonable expectation that that $2,000 was going to get repaid to you. Maybe the bail money, because you say that you had confidence in your son-in-law, and he says that he agreed to pay you back and he just hasn't gotten around to it yet. Mr. Torres, you have to find something to do with your time other than make children, sir. You have enough children. You have 5 children. And based upon what I've heard, you're not doing too well. And neither are your children. So you have to find some other way of occupying your spare time, like getting a second job, so you can support everybody, so they can all live together and not scam the government anymore. Do you understand me, Mr. Torres? This is all one huge scam you've been living with her. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,600. That's all. Step out.
Why does I excuse you? Let's step out this way.
Now, this is case number 267 on the calendar in the matter of Wyatt versus Christensen. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Wyatt, Miss Christensen is your soon-to-be former daughter-in-law.
That's correct.
She's married to your son. How many sons do you have?
2.
I assume only one of them is incarcerated. Is that right?
One was old enough to be incarcerated, correct.
Where's the other one?
He's only 8.
Well, still got time.
Hopefully not.
Anyway, the one who's incarcerated is Miss Christensen's husband.
Yes, ma'am.
And they are in the process of, I assume, divorcing.
Yes, well, at the moment, he's not incarcerated.
Where is he?
Right now, I have no idea.
Well, maybe his mother knows, but I'm not particularly interested in that. Your lawsuit says that you loaned Miss Christensen some property, a washer and a dryer, when she and your son, and you want the washer and dryer back or the value of that property, and also you say that you loaned her $125 at some point because she needed money for rent. Miss Christensen says that these were wedding gifts that you gave to her and to her husband, that the reason you came back for them and the timing of your decision to come back for them was timed at the precise moment, the precise day that she had your son arrested for domestic violence. She said they were never loans, these items were gifts, and she doesn't know anything about a $125 loan for rent. Who is this gentleman?
This is my father.
Are you living with him now?
No, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
Right now, I live at my house.
Do you work?
Not presently.
Who's supporting you?
My father and financial aid.
You have children?
Yes, I do.
How many?
2.
They're not the children of this marriage?
One of them, my son.
How old is that child?
8 months.
Miss Wyatt, did you see this grandchild of yours while your son was living at home?
Not very often.
Why not?
Because there was problems that they had in their marriage. They would argue and go in the bedroom, and it bothered me to see how her daughter would respond to it.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 3.5.
Well, Miss Wyatt, I want to tell you something. Suing your soon-to-be former daughter-in-law is not the way to form a bond with your grandchild.
I understand that.
What month and year did you loan them this old washer and dryer?
My son had moved out in March when he turned 18. The day he turned 18, he decided not to come home. 2 days later, he moved in with Nancy and her father. In May, they had gotten an apartment. They did not have a refrigerator, washer, dryer. I felt very bad because I had mine in storage and said you could use them, but I want them back because I also have other children, and when I get them back, I want to be able to have my belongings so that I can take care of my kids. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not.
Not this much. How old were the washer, dryer, and refrigerator that were in storage that you gave to the defendant?
Your Honor, I have pictures.
How old?
I purchased them when my daughter, which is now 11, was 2.
So they're about 9 years old.
Correct.
And what you wanted to do was, according to you, I'm just trying to get this straight, you wanted these things back to you as a legacy for your younger children. Now, aside from your son who turned 18, how old is the next oldest child?
11.
11. So
9.
by the time, just a second, so by the time the 11-year-old would be an adult, so that you could give the 11-year-old the washer and the dryer and the refrigerator, the washer and dryer and refrigerator would be 18 years old. Are you following what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I did.
Now, on what day did you find out that your son was incarcerated?
On Friday, September 2nd.
And there came a time when you went to the defendant's home with the police?
Correct.
On what date?
September 5th.
Why?
I had given them notice when he had left her prior to him getting arrested.
When was that?
When he moved in with my sister. And I had told them back in August that I wanted my things back. I have health issues, very serious ones. I don't want to be dragged in this. I just want my property back. So when I get my children home, I will have
children.
I have 4 other children.
Where are they?
They live with my ex-mother-in-law. She was granted guardian.
You have mental problems or physical problems?
Physical problems.
Okay, I'll hear you.
We moved out in April 2004. We got married in May, which I have my certificate, which was when she told us, you guys can have our refrigerator, my refrigerator, washer, and dryer. I'm not using it. I have no need for it. She lives in a studio apartment, which already furnishes all these items, which these items are right here. I don't know if you see pictures of them.
I see them, please.
Then everything was fine. She would come to my house. She would stay. We watched over her for 2 weeks after plenty of her surgeries. As for the gas money and the rent money, she would only give me gas money. I think she only gave me $20 one time. That was to take her to her surgeries and then take her home. And that's as far as the money goes. Now, my husband was arrested on the 2nd. This is his police report of what happened. She called me on the 4th asking about where her son was. And I said, well, he's in jail for spousal abuse. And that's when she called the cops to have them meet. There's paper right here saying she came out on the 4th to meet her out there at my house so that she could take away the fridge and washer and dryer. Now, when she did that, the first things out of her mouth were, are you ready to take your stuff out of my fridge? I go, I don't have anything of yours. You gave that to us, and that's exactly what I told the cop. That's when the cop sent her away and told her this is, you know, something you need to deal with in court. Well, she didn't go to the courthouse that day to file. She waited until September 6th. That was his visiting day. Now, I had been sitting in there waiting to visit my husband for an hour.
Why?
Well, because I wanted to see where his head was at, if we could work this out through marriage counseling, because this is like the first time this ever happened, you know, and I was willing for my children, for my marriage, to give it another shot, you know, try it out.
He broke your arm.
He fractured it, yeah. I know.
Fracture is a break.
Yeah, I know. It's stupid of me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I went to the counter and I said I was...
Her estranged daughter-in-law, Nancy Christensen, owes for the return of her appliances. Nancy is countersuing for defamation of character and harassment.
Go ahead.
I had waited to visit him for an hour. Well, his visiting was at 9 o'clock, and at 8:45, Denise walked in the jail, and she walked up to the window and asked the lady if she could visit. Well, he's only allowed 1 visitor or 2 shared people, you know, 1 visit a day. And she looked at me, she said, are you going to let me see my son? And I shook my head no, because I felt he's my husband. I had more of a right to find out what's going on with him. Anyway, at that moment, she turned around and she said, that's fine. I know where you're at, and I know where your car is parked. And she walked out of the jail. So I went to the police station right after, and I went to make a police report on her. Well, they told me they weren't going to do that because they didn't think it was serious.
Okay.
Because I had asked for a restraining order. So as I was walking outside, she comes walking down the street. She says, nice try, Nancy. I know where your car is at. I know where you live. I'm getting your power turned off. I'm going to get everything turned off, and you're going to have to just deal with nothing. And she did this in front of I have the report right here. She did this in front of one of the police department supervisors. And she walked back in with me and told the police officer at the desk, look, this lady is crazy. She's got problems. And it states that in there, too.
Well, you made these threats to her, Miss Wyatt, in front of a police officer.
I've never been contacted about that.
I didn't ask you whether you had been contacted by them, madam. I'm telling you that I'm reading the police report, and you made these threats to your daughter-in-law in front of a police officer.
When I went to see my son, I went to the counter and I said I was...
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside the police station. Outside the police station, the police officers indicate they heard you threaten her.
I did not threaten her. The only thing I said as our passing, because I was walking over to the PG&E office, that my son had contacted me. He wanted me to call the property management where he has dealings with. He wanted me to contact the PG&E, the phone company.
For what reason?
to let them know that he was incarcerated, he'd never been in trouble, and they told him he would have 3 to 5 years. I contacted the credit union.
What are you contacting those people for?
Because he asked me to do that, to let them know that he was incarcerated.
For what reason? You must have asked the reason. Why do you want to let the gas company and the power company and the rent know that I'm incarcerated? For what reason?
So that she would go bail him out. Because he had already had her in there all those days, and she had taken his paycheck. All he wanted to do was take his car and leave to cool down.
You want to say something?
I just wanted to...
Stand up.
I just wanted to point out that when the actual washer, dryer, and refrigerator was put into Nancy's possession...
They weren't put into Nancy's possession.
It was a loan.
Listen to me. They weren't put into Nancy's possession, right?
Yes.
She would not have given Nancy anything. She would not have given her a dust maggot. She gave those things to them as a couple because they were getting married, and she wanted her son to have those things. She wouldn't have given Nancy anything.
When it very first started, though, they were not on odds with each other.
They don't have to be at odds with each other. Your sister wouldn't have given this lady, who was a stranger to her, anything. She gave them to the family because they were married.
I did not know that they were getting married until the day of the marriage. And I
There must have been a reason for that, Miss Wyatt.
He didn't even call his sisters or brothers or anybody.
Must have been a reason for that, too.
Denise Wyatt says her estranged daughter-in-law, Nancy Christensen, owes for the return of her appliances. Nancy is countersuing for defamation of character and harassment.
Now, I find very strange, Miss Wyatt, that one day after the incident at the jail and 2.5 days after you ascertained that your son was incarcerated for domestic violence, it was at that point that you demanded back with police assistance this property. Are you still living in the same house that you were living at when you went to get this property?
The studio apartment? Yes, I am.
So what inspired you to go and get this property the day after the incident at the jail?
Because I've been spending more time with my children, and I have chances of getting my own children back, so that I will need my things when I
What are you going
to
do with them when you get them? If I get them to you now, what are you going to do with them?
They're going to sit in my storage until I can get my children.
Hi, Miss Wyatt. I think you need a lot of help. Your case is dismissed. I find that these items are gifts to your son and your daughter-in-law, and just because they are no longer together doesn't mean that you get them back. What it means, Miss Wyatt, is that your son and your daughter-in-law will have to argue over whatever is marital property when they ultimately get a divorce. It may be that he gets them, it may be that she gets them. You have a counterclaim for harassment.
Yes, ma'am.
Leave her alone. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Good. Don't call any of her creditors. Don't call her apartment. Don't call her manager. Don't call the gas company. Don't call the cable company. Do I make myself crystal clear?
Yes, you do.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They said they were going to arrest him.
McKinney versus Thomas. Step forward.
21-year-old Shoshana McKinney is suing her former friend, 26-year-old Deshae Thomas, for smashing her car's windshield.
All right, I have a complaint and a counterclaim. Each one of you alleges that the other vandalized their car. I gather you ladies knew each other. For some time you were friendly with each other. So why don't you tell me, Miss McKinney, when you allege Miss Thomas vandalized your car and what proof you have that she did so?
This happened on July 15th. She came to the club that I was at. She wanted to pull me out and fight me, but the doorman wouldn't let her get very far because you have to pay to get in. So when she saw that I wasn't going to come out and fight her, the witnesses say that...
Don't tell me what a witness says.
Okay. She smashed in my car window.
Did you see her do that?
No, I did not.
Who's here that did see her do that?
No one.
Good. Did she ever admit to you that she did that?
No, she did not.
If there's no proof, Miss McKinney, there is no case. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, let's get to your counterclaim. When
it was on A16, right in front of my home.
You have any witnesses to your car being vandalized?
I saw them.
Well, tell me what you observed.
It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I had happened to glance outside my window, and I saw a female first with like a white rag and like a big white T-shirt and some shorts and like looking like a homeless person, just like hanging around. And so I didn't think much of it. And then a couple hours went by, and I still saw that person hanging around. And then I saw that person go to a white car. And then I looked closer, and I was like, that's Shoshana in the car, and that's her. That must be her mom, because her mom has glasses and she looks like her. So I blinked my alarm, like, you know, get away from our car, and then they ran away. So I went out there, and I saw the big scratch on my car, and I said, this lady didn't scratch my car. That's what she was doing when she was leaning on my vehicle. So a couple hours later, they came to my door. I opened the door, and I noticed that I recognized them face to face at that point in time. Mind you, we had already had a disagreement. Shoshana had felt threatened by me because we had got into an argument, and Shoshana did a lot of things to other people besides myself. She only stole property of mine, like jewelry and clothes and stuff like that. But I just, I asked you about myself, Shoshana, and you lied.
We're going to keep this real simple. Is what you're telling me that on the 16th of August, you looked outside and you saw somebody hanging around your car for a long time?
Leaning on my car.
For how long were they leaning on your car?
At least an hour, and then...
1 hour. And after that hour, when she got back in a car, you went outside and looked at the car and you saw a scratch on your car.
Right.
How big was this scratch?
I'll show you pictures, Your Honor. I have pictures.
I would love to see a picture.
Please do.
You're talking about this little scratch right here?
No, that's a big scratch, Your Honor.
You're talking about this scratch. It's all the same scratch, am I correct?
It's a very big scratch. You can see the close-up.
It's right above the tire. This mark right here. So you're telling me in the hour that you say she was standing in front of your car, intent on vandalizing your car, this is all the damage she did? Did you have anything to do with vandalizing her car?
No, Your Honor.
Did you have... Listen to me! Did you have anything to do with vandalizing her car?
No, I did not.
Did you have anything to do with vandalizing her car?
No.
You are her mother, is that correct?
Yes.
Stand up.
Okay.
Were you at her house on the 16th of August, 2005?
Yes.
What were you doing there?
I was there to serve papers. I was
How
there
many
for a
visits
restraining order.
How many visits did you make to her house?
One.
And when you made the visit one time, did you serve the papers?
Yes, I did.
You were there with your daughter?
She was about a half a block away once.
Listen, stop fighting with each other. I don't know what you're mad at each other about, but vandalizing each other's cars is not a very smart thing to do. If that's what you did, there's insufficient proof that that was done. Your case is dismissed.
In the matter of Carter versus Powell.
Thank you, Bernard.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Your Honor, parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Carter, you hired the defendant to house and pet sit while you and your son went on a vacation. And according to your complaint, you came back and found your house trashed, some alcohol missing, and the place generally a disaster. How old are you, Mr. Powell?
I am 27 years old currently.
And what do you do for a living, sir?
Currently, I'm a waiter, and...
what were you doing when you were engaged by Miss Carter?
Full-time college student, Your Honor.
Full-time college student at age 27?
I'm on the 10-year plan.
Where were you living?
I was living...
Why are you gazing up at the stars?
I'm sorry.
These are not hard questions, Mr.
I'm sorry,
Powell.
Your Honor.
These are not hard questions, sir.
I'm sorry. I live
Where were you living at the time that you were retained by Miss Carter and you were a full-time college student on the 10-year plan?
I live in a duplex near downtown San Antonio.
With whom?
With a roommate of mine.
And who supports you? It's not an answer.
The state.
How does the state support you?
Student loans, Your Honor.
You've been getting 10 years' worth of student loans?
No, that's why I've been in it for so long, because I've been working as well as going to school at certain points in time. So that's why I'm 27 and still in college.
How many credits do you have? So you don't mind if I go through this with him, do you? This is fascinating. I'm going to have a good time. You know. Sometimes the job demands you have a good time. Sometimes.
I'm a little bit indecisive, Your Honor, so I've changed my major quite a few times. So probably I've accrued close to 160 hours in school.
What do you want to be when you grow up, Mr. Powell? Where does your family live, Mr. Powell?
They live in San Antonio, Texas.
Is that where you come from?
Yes, born and raised.
Are you friendly with your parents?
Yes, very much so.
Do they give you money?
When times are rough, yes.
Well, if you're 27 years old and unemployed, sir, couldn't get one for the mat.
I'm a waiter, Your Honor. I'm a waiter.
Full-time waiter or a part-time waiter? I'm going to find out where you're a full-time waiter, if you are a full-time waiter.
No, I'm not a full-time waiter, Your Honor.
All right, so a part-time waiter
30
doesn't support a duplex, Mr. Powell.
It's cheap rent.
Didn't think that this would happen to you, did you? All right, enough. Miss Carter, which one of these two gentlemen is your son?
He is the one in
that one, in the suit.
In the suit.
And they were friends?
Yes, they were friends since 1997.
All right. Stand up for a second. Your name?
Curtis Carter.
Curtis, where do you live? With your mother?
No, I have my own residence in San Antonio.
Perfect. Who supports the residence?
I do.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an investment broker.
Very nice. Did you buy that suit all by yourself?
She helped me out.
Who paid paid for it?
Gosh, my mother did.
Oh. What?
Gosh.
Ouch. Gosh. My mother did. Do you make a living?
Yes,
Okay. And you've known Mr. Powell for about 10 years?
approximately.
Where do you know him from?
We went to high school together, and we have all kinds of friends in common.
You know he's a little flaky.
Well, he hasn't always been.
He is now. Did you recommend Mr. Powell to your mother as a house sitter?
I did.
But we had previously hired him, Your Honor, on a previous occasion, and we got along without difficulty.
How many days did he house sit on the previous occasion?
Maybe a week.
And he lived at your house?
That's correct.
How long ago?
4 years ago.
And 4 years ago, Miss Carter, was he a college student?
Yes, he was.
4 years later, he's still a college student.
That
You should have said to yourself, something's not right there. Now, you hired him when, the second time?
I hired him February 24th of this year.
How long were you going to be away?
We went away from March 1 through the 24th of this year.
And how many animals do you have?
I have 1 dog and 1 tropical fish.
Okay. And he was to take care of the dog, the fish, the house.
That's right.
Okay. When you came home on the 24th, did you take photos of the house?
We took photos of the damage the next day or so.
I'd like to see the photos. Are you an otherwise neat person?
Not particularly.
Now, where was this brick wall?
The brick wall is outside my kitchen. Somehow, it was knocked into the driveway. A 4-foot section of it was knocked in.
Your Honor,
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't a 4-foot section. It was maybe more like 2 to 2.5 feet. It was about 15. I know because I bought the bricks. There was.
I want you to tell me, Mr. Powell, how the brick wall fell down.
All I can really tell you is I believe it was because she lives in Almas Park, which is also a basin. It floods there a lot.
Just a second. Did it flood the 3 weeks that she was gone?
No, Your Honor.
And we are not in the floodplain.
Just, you have to give him a chance, Miss Carter. Don't interrupt him.
Either way,
Were you leaning against it?
I was leaning against it. Indeed,
You were leaning
yes.
against it when it fell over?
When it started to tremor, and then, boom, fell down about close to 15 feet into the driveway.
But I also
Just
have leads
shut-
against it.
I told you, don't interrupt him. So you were leaning against the brick wall and it fell over into the driveway.
Indeed.
And you tried to fix it.
Indeed. Indeed, I did.
Did you fix it?
To the best of my ability, I had my friend over here, Jason, and his brother-in-law, who does construction and mason work,
27 years.
helped to put the brick wall back together again. And I even planted flowers in the flower pots because I felt bad about the whole situation.
On what date, Mr. Powell, did the brick wall fall down?
Well, I'm basing this on the plaintiff's statement. She said,
No,
got it on
I
February.
don't want you.
Well, it's
the
been so long.
plaintiff is in Africa, on the plains.
Okay.
You are on her brick wall.
Okay.
So you tell me what date. Let's go back a second,
Okay.
Mr. Powell. You're 27 years old.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're a 10-year veteran of college.
Yes, Your Honor.
How many brick walls in your life have fallen down when you were leaning against them?
None since that one, Your Honor.
Before this one? Any before?
No.
So that would be an event that you would remember. Now,
Indeed.
on what date did the brick wall fall down?
February the 27th.
That would be before she left.
Oh, I thought she said she left the February the 25th. See, this is the problem here, Your Honor. It's been so long since the whole incident has occurred. I really don't. Dates are kind of a problem for me to recollect at the time.
Life is a problem for you, Mr. Powell.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Looked like there had been an ongoing fraternity party in the house. The ashtrays were overflowing with what looked like to me reefer cigarettes.
Her son's former friend, Michael Powell, damaged her home while she was on vacation. Made through parties the entire time she was gone.
Now, when did you have the first social gathering at her house?
Well, I had a few social gatherings. They were spread out, you know. She said I could have a few people over, several people over. She said there wasn't a problem with that. So I did have friends over.
That's not true.
Don't do it again. Otherwise, I'll say goodbye to you. And you don't want that to happen.
No, I don't.
How many times did you have social gatherings in the 3 weeks that you were house sitting?
3 weeks I was house sitting, probably 6, 7 times.
And give me a range of number of people that you had at the house when you had these social gatherings.
The most at one time would be 5, including myself.
Were you always inside or did you go outside?
We went outside.
When you went outside, what did you do outside?
Smoke cigarettes.
How many bottles of Miss Carter's alcohol did you consume?
I believe her statement was 2 bottles of wine.
If you don't know, say, I don't know, I don't remember, or I drank 2 bottles.
2 bottles of wine. And a little bit of Chivas Regal that she had there. Not the whole bottle,
Now,
which she claims.
The alcohol was in the bar?
It's actually in the kitchen. It's in a little drawer.
A bottle of Chivas Regal doesn't fit in a little drawer.
Well, there's plenty of cabinets in her kitchen.
So it's in a cabinet, not a little drawer.
A cabinet.
Did she have food in her refrigerator?
She had a little bit of food in her refrigerator. She also had a pantry that was well stocked with soups and the like.
Did you partake?
Yes, because that was part of the plan. She offered to let me eat and drink, so I did. I didn't have a lot of money at the time.
Were you supposed to get paid for watching the house?
Yes. I believe the agreement was $10 a day for 25 days, and I was supposed to receive $250. Which I never received. I mean, she wouldn't answer back my phone calls after the first day, so I had to get an attorney because through my circle of friends...
You got an attorney?
Yeah, because I heard... Well,
you hired an attorney?
Yes, because we share... Kurt and I share... Her sons share the same friends. And so you hear a lot of rumors and hearsay, and I was hearing she was bringing detectives into the house and doing all this, meticulous research, and I felt like my best bet would be to get an attorney.
How much did you pay the attorney?
$150 to send her a letter.
What you're telling me, sir, is you paid an attorney $150 to get you $250.
Also, just to communicate, because she was not, at that point in time, was not communicating with me. So I could not...
Just answer my question. You paid an attorney $150 to send her a letter to get your pay of $250.
Also to say that if there's any kind of damage as far as the brick wall is concerned, if it was a problem, me drinking the bottles of wine, no big deal. Take it out of the $250. But then when I got served the papers, I see this long list of these.
How did the banister, this wooden banister, get broken
when I got there?
The wooden banister was broken when you got there.
Yes.
Split in 2.
It was split in 2.
Is that right?
Yes, it was split in 2, but it was not split in 2 prior to my leaving on the trip.
No, just a second. That's what I'm saying to you. Was the banister split in 2 when he came?
Yes. Wait.
Was the banister broken before he came to house sit?
No.
Well, you have to listen to my question. When you came home, how did you find your pets?
My dog was in good condition.
Good. Well, at least he did something right. What about the fish?
The fish was still living.
Also, a blessing.
Yes, I agree.
Good. Now, there was a painting that you talk about that you have a picture of a hole in it. Tell me about the painting.
This painting is of a relative of mine.
It's a great painting, by the way.
Thank you. It's a village blacksmith. It's a family heirloom.
Tell me about the damage to the painting.
It is museum quality, and I discovered that it has a puncture and a rip or a tear in it, and the heavy gold relief frame had been broken off and damaged in it.
Was it hanging on the wall when you came home?
Yes.
But hanging on the wall damaged?
Yes.
Had it been damaged before Mr. Powell started to babysit for your house?
Not at all.
You. Nice suit.
Thank you.
Would you step up, sir? What is your name?
Barton Simpson.
Mr. Simpson, you're a neighbor of the Carters?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened in the household while Mrs. Carter and her son were in Africa.
The first thing I noticed was the defendant's red car, because Miss Carter's car was gone, and it had the writing of a wax on it that would be indicative of the police impound lot in San Antonio. As time went by, the flowers started dying on the terrace and trash started piling up on the terrace. And then as more time went on, I started seeing Miss Carter's treasured dog running around the neighborhood. So I started making an effort to catch the dog and bring it back to the backyard. On the third occasion...
The third occasion the dog was...
The third occasion that the dog was running around the neighborhood, I took the dog home to find that the terrace door was wide open.
Okay. Did you go inside?
I looked in the door, I knocked on the door, I yelled for somebody inside. When I looked in the door, I noticed the back door was also wide open. So I walked in the house to release the dog into the house. I walked in to close the back door. The first thing I noticed was it looked like there had been an ongoing fraternity party in the house. There were electric guitars up on the couch. The tables were covered with booze. The ashtrays were overflowing with cigarettes and what looked like to me the burnt ends of reefer cigarettes in the ashtrays. It looked like there had been an ongoing mosh pit fraternity party, and there was a cat in the house and dog feces on the floor.
Thank you, sir.
He came by once to tell me that the dog was wandering around the neighborhood, and I didn't know who he was because I had never met him.
Mr. Powell, Let me tell you that Mr. Simpson just related to me something that I believe, that he went into the house when you were not at home to return the dog to the house. You were not there. He described the inside of the house. That's all I want you to address, sir.
The inside of the house.
Yes. And I want you to bear in mind that I believe him.
Okay, I understand that. Well, when he came over to the house, if he saw beer cans, there were probably some beer cans. But that doesn't mean I drank her liquor or drank all this wine. I mean, there wasn't wine bottles. There was just empty beer cans, which I picked up, threw away,
What about the dog feces that were there? Did you clean up that too?
I cannot, no. There were no dog feces. This
well, no.
dog
I want
is
you to bear
14
in mind,
years old.
I want you to bear in mind that I believe
him. Okay.
So if you didn't clean it up, it was there when she arrived home.
No, Your Honor. It was not there.
Well, then somebody cleaned it up.
I cleaned it up. If anything happened...
Oh, just a second. Well, you just said you didn't.
I was saying that I didn't his testimony is I don't agree with his testimony, even though you do.
Listen to me. I don't care whether you do or not.
The dog's 14 years old.
I'm telling you that I believe him. So if the dog messed in the house and you didn't clean it up, which is what you said at first, that means that she found it when she came home, unless you had Cinderella come and take care of the house at some point.
Your Honor, I took grounds to try to repair her brick wall. I tried as I could with the time that I had. Like she says, she's not this person in the first place. The house is very messy to begin with.
Who smokes? Do you?
I smoke cigarettes, yes I do.
Do you, Miss Carter?
No, Your Honor.
Who else lives in the house with you?
No one.
Cigarette ashtrays were brought from outside into the inside.
Oh,
that's why.
So unusual. People usually do just the opposite. Maybe when you graduate, you'll start doing it the other way. Most people take cigarettes and take them outside. So what you're telling me is you and your friends had cigarette smoke outside and all the dirty, disgusting cigarette butts, when you were finished smoking outside so you shouldn't smell the house, you brought them back inside.
They were cleaned and gathered in a pile, Your Honor.
No, you mean the cigarette butts were cleaned and gathered in a pile?
Let's call it an organized mess. Put everything together, throw it away, put it into the trash can, and take it out.
No, but it hadn't been thrown away, sir, because he came and he found it there.
At that particular date.
All right, I had enough. Miss Carter, listen to me. How much did it cost you to fix the painting?
About $1,000.
No, show me the bill. Come on, see the bill. I finished torturing Mr. Powell. Finished torturing him. You big slob, Mr. Powell. You took advantage of the situation. Make parties in your own condo. Don't make parties in somebody else's house. It's outrageous to treat somebody else's house with such disrespect. 27 years old. Your parents should be very proud of you. Very, very proud of you. You're on the I'm speaking. You're on a 10-year plan. You'll never grow up. As long as somebody else is footing the bill, you're going to continue to be a big baby. How much did it cost you to clean up the house and to do any of the brickwork on the house?
The brickwork cost $1,285.
Clean up on the house?
I had a maid service for $40.
All right. How much did it cost you to fix the banister?
$135.
All right, it's $3,460. You better start waiting on a lot more tables and working a lot more than 30 hours a week. Do I make my...
23-year-old Rosemary Penko is suing her ex-boyfriend, 26-year-old Clint Potter, for damaging her car when he grabbed at the steering wheel.
Ms. Penko, according to your complaint, you were separated from your husband for a period of time, and while you were separated, you started to date the defendant. You claim that at some point last year, he caused you to have an accident in your car. You want him to pay for the damage to the car. In addition, you claim that he has embarked upon a campaign of harassment over the last 6 or 7 months, and you want him to compensate you for that as well. Mr. Potter says that he prevented a more serious accident on that date back, I believe it's in March of 2005, because you were driving too quickly and he tried to stop you. And in addition, he has a counterclaim for $300 because he says after this incident in the car, you called him and asked him for a loan of $300 and you haven't paid him back. You've since gone back to your husband. Is that right?
Rosemary Penko claims ex-boyfriend Clint Potter damaged her car when he grabbed at the steering wheel.
All right, when did you start to date Mr. Potter?
Probably in November.
When had you and your husband separated?
About 3 months before that.
All right, and tell me about this incident with the car.
We went out, we were coming back home, and I was going to drop him home, and we were on the freeway. He was arguing about the same thing all over again, that I don't spend enough time with him, and I told him that I can't have more time, I don't have time for anything, I have a full-time work, school, everything, and he got mad at me and he grabbed the wheel and I swerved to the side.
What kind of damage was done to the car?
It was the ground effects were broken under the car.
I read that in your complaint. I have no idea what ground effects are.
It just goes from one side of the tire to the other. It's just a bar piece that makes the car look lower.
How much did you spend for these ground effects?
They're about $1,000.
Show me the bill.
That's the bill from the price on them from the Pontiac dealership.
I know. I want to see the bill where you put them on your car.
Oh, I don't have that bill, ma'am.
Well,
no.
that's too bad. Why don't you have that bill?
I didn't think I needed it for anything.
Well, you do.
I see that now.
Your Honor?
Yes.
She didn't pay for it. Her parents paid for it.
Listen to me, Mr. Potter. You just didn't help yourself. I'm going to tell you why you didn't help yourself. Because if you now acknowledge that someone, as a gift, put these ground effects, as stupid as it sounds to me, on her car, what she's showing me now is the replacement value of those if she wants to put them back on the car. So if I find, thank you very much, that you were damaged, then I can use this.
Okay.
See what teaches you to keep your mouth shut unless I look at you and say, now I'm going to let you talk. Well, that takes care of that. Now, tell me what happened in mid-March when you were driving in the car, Mr. Potter, and be careful. Because so far you put your foot in your mouth once, let's not do it twice.
There was no argument whatsoever. We had just left the hotel where we met up, and she likes to drive fast. She is a V8. She does race cars. She's good at that, and kind of worried me a little. What happened was I prevented her from getting a serious wreck.
Tell me what you did.
We were almost home, and the car was swerving over in front of her, and I said, watch out. And I went to grab the wheel, and then she did like this. It went left, right, left, and it did a 180 up onto the freeway ramp, and it came back down and got stuck because the car is so low. It got stuck on the part that separates the mound from the road.
You're not supposed to put your hands on a steering wheel, Mr. Potter, when someone else is driving.
I did not touch the steering wheel.
Yes. You're not supposed to touch your arm.
I went to reach for it. It was a natural human reaction. Okay.
Mr. Potter.
Yes.
You can't have it every which way but loose. Tell me about this harassment that you're now claiming.
It was nonstop.
Starting when?
Starting when I told him that I didn't want to be with him anymore.
When was that?
The end of April.
What brings you to court now?
He wants money from a promise.
Just a second. What I want to know is April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. 10 months later, you woke up.
No, ma'am. I just wanted him to leave me alone. I didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't want money from him. All I wanted was for him to leave me alone, and he couldn't do that.
But you say that what brought you to court today is because he's suing you.
He started, yeah.
You filed a small claims case against her?
Yes.
When?
December.
And your lawsuit was for what, sir?
I have given her $300 right at the end of April, around the 19th, 20th, whatnot.
What did she say? Tell me how that happened.
I think she needed it for books for her school for the next semester. She said she would pay me back. Now, she says I harass her, but it's not harassment. I'm just trying to get my $300 back. After she says she wants to be with her husband, I'm like, okay, well, I'm still waiting. You said you're going to pay me back in a week.
When did she tell you that she was going back to her husband?
She told me she's going to go back with him sometime in August.
All right. You get your $300 back.
Okay.
But it's going to be by way of a deduction. I'm deducting the $300 that she owes you from the $1,000 that she needs to put the ground effects on the car. Do you understand?
I do.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $700. That's all.
Number 441 on the calendar, the matter of Crumpler versus Yanis Lopez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
This young lady was your girlfriend, I guess, for a period of time, and you also have a child together. She is or was 17, just turned 18? Mm-hmm. You are suing, really, her mother, because at the time when she was 17, the two of you were driving in a car, and it is your claim that she, in a hissy fit, damaged your car, and you want her mother to pay for that damage. That's what your case is about.
Yes.
Ms. Yanis, you say that, well, you may have damaged the car because you took out this hairbrush to hit him, and instead of hitting him, you hit the dashboard.
Yes.
But that's because he was assaulting you, and you have a counterclaim for that assault, and you said that he's done it frequently in the past.
Yes.
Let me get to your claim first against Ms. Lopez.
Okay, Your Honor, it started on December 18th. I picked her up from a friend's house, and when I picked her up, we was going to go get something to eat. And after that, she got mad because I wouldn't hang out with her at her friend's house, and she got in a violent rage and pulled out a hairbrush, and she hit my dash with it, and she hit my my dashboard, and I got the paper right here, and I filed a police report on that also.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
The first page.
Yeah, right there.
And so you reported this to the police the same day it happened?
Yes, right after it happened. 535.
Now, what do you do for a living, Mr. Crumpler?
I do heating and air with my uncle.
And you're 21 years old?
Yes.
And how old is the what?
Your Honor, I have a little bit more to add to this also. This isn't the first time she's hit Chad. On December 4th, she also hit Chad with a cell phone. This is the second time that she has repeatedly hit Chad. It shows a pattern of violence against Michelle to Chad. So this is not the first time.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Shh. You have a 1-year-old child?
Right.
Who does that child live with?
Me.
Lives with you pursuant to an order of custody?
Yes.
Was there a trial?
It'll be on January 26th.
How long has he lived with you?
Since December 18th, I believe, shortly after. 22nd December.
When?
It was December 20th.
Prior to December 20th, who did the child live with?
Her.
And you're going to have a trial soon with regard to the issue of custody, is that right?
Yes.
I didn't ask you anything. Okay. Who do you live with?
My dad.
Who takes care of the baby?
I do.
Well, you work. Who takes care of the baby when you work?
My mom.
Well, you said you live with your dad. Where's your mom?
Lives in Derby. They're separated. They're divorced.
So is what you're telling me the child is cared for by your mother in a different town?
While I'm at work, then after work I go pick him up. She watches him while I'm at work.
You just recently got daycare assistance for...
I'm not speaking to you. What do you think this is, a tea party? Now, Mr. Crumpler, at the time that Michelle became pregnant, how old was she?
16.
And how old were you?
18.
Do you remember where you were when she became pregnant?
So what?
Where were you? In her house, in your house, in a hotel, in a motel?
Her house.
Was her mother home?
Yes.
Did she know you were there?
She knew we were dating.
I said, did she know you were there?
Yes, Your Honor.
She knew you were sleeping together with her daughter? I mean, was he living there?
No, Your Honor. I didn't even know. He was not in my home while I was there having sex with my daughter. So I never allowed that in my home.
Where were you, Michelle, when you became pregnant?
At his mom's.
Mr. Crumpler, I want to ask you questions at the moment why I'm asking you these questions, sir. Did you ask Miss Lopez to have sex with her daughter while she was 16?
No, she told me if...
Just a second. Did you ask her?
No.
Did you ask her to have sex, unprotected sex with her daughter so her 16-year-old daughter became pregnant?
No.
I ask you these questions, Mr. Crumpler, because why would you think I would make an order ordering Miss Lopez to pay for the damage to your car? Because that's what the case is about. She's a minor. I can't hold her legally responsible for anything. She was the same minor who you impregnated when you were not a minor. Do you understand?
Yes.
So why would I say to this lady who took care of your problem that you and the daughter created for 1 year, because the baby lived with her for a year, right? Why would I say to her, and in addition to that, you're going to have to pay for it because your daughter, who was not under your control, damaged his dashboard? Now, that's a numero uno. Number two, according to the papers in this case that you furnished me, you filed a complaint against him for something allegedly that happened on December 4th.
Yes.
2 weeks before this incident.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say that she assaulted him on December 4th, right?
That is correct.
What were they doing in a car together on December 18th?
They're trying to work it out, Your Honor.
Get over! Trying to work what out? You got Dumb and Dumber here. What are they trying to work out? So you make an excuse to go be dumb, dumber, and dumbest. So, Mr. Crumpler, you get nothing from Miss Lopez. You got a damaged dashboard. Miss Lopez has a damaged life. At least 50% of that was caused by you. Because no matter what happens in this trial in January, she has to deal with her daughter, who was a minor, who had a baby, who she had to take care of. She had a grandson. I don't know who's going to get custody in January. I'm not sure. So you get nothing. You made a problem. And if all you got out of it was a damaged dashboard, you got away very, very cheap.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
we had a mediation hearing on December 28th, and I didn't go to that. And
Why not?
The mother of his child, Michelle Yanis, owes for vandalizing his car with a hairbrush. Michelle is countersuing, claiming Chad punched her.
Now let's get to your counterclaim. What were you doing in the car with him on December 18th?
I was thinking stupid,
Think just a second. You were thinking stupid.
Yeah. I was going to get back with him because he told me he was sorry and stuff, and then we get into an argument over something stupid, and we start hitting each other. Well, I don't know.
You think that courts are set up to take care of Dumb and Dumber, Miss Lopez?
No.
Good. So let's deal with your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is for assault.
Yes.
According to you, he assaulted your daughter on the 4th of December?
On the 4th and the 18th.
On the 4th. Well, she was back with him on the 18th.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Goodbye. Two of you sound to me like you all deserve each other. You have no case. Complaint? Counterclaim dismissed. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just jealousy, because he's a jealous guy.
I mean, just because I get her daughter pregnant, she gets my car, you know?
Yeah, he's a controlling person. Very, very controlling.
That.
Well, I hope that he can learn to grow up and be a man, step up to being a dad and quit being jealous.
That's case number 459 on the calendar in the matter of Hudson versus Williams. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Ms. Hudson, the defendant was your boyfriend who you claim was arrested for domestic violence. His request. You posted $500 bail, and the entire bail was $3,000. You claim he did not report to court as he was supposed to, and therefore you're on the hook for the entire $3,000.
That is correct.
In addition, Mr. Williams, according to you, got into an argument with you at some point about a year ago and kicked your car.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Williams acknowledges that you paid for the bail, doesn't address the fact that he forfeited bail by not appearing in court, which you'll have to show me. He said, however, that he never asked you to post the bail. It was all your idea. There was never an agreement to return the money to you, and that while he acknowledges that he kicked your car, he says you were trying to run him over, and he merely kicked your car to protect himself and to prevent being killed. Is that right, Mr. Williams?
Yep.
Try yes. You'll be much more successful. You're not a stranger to court, are you?
Nah.
Which one is your brother?
Anthony Williams.
Step up. You're his younger brother or older brother?
Older.
When was he arrested?
I can't remember the exact
When
date.
were you arrested for this domestic violence?
December 04.
It was December of 03.
December of 03?
Yes, ma'am.
That's like 2-3 years ago.
How many times have you been arrested, Mr. Williams, since December of 2003?
Once.
When?
Last time right here that we here for, December of 03, that's the last time I was arrested.
I said since December of 03, have you been arrested again?
Oh, no.
Prior to December 03, were you arrested?
Not to my recollection. I don't remember.
She's going to remember for you in a moment.
Probably so.
Right, Miss Hudson?
Yes, he was detained at our custody hearing for my son for failure to appear or something.
Now, do you have a pretty good memory, Anthony?
Yes.
How many brothers do you have?
Just him?
You love him?
Yes.
Now, he says he was only arrested once that he can remember. That was December of 03, so that must have been a pretty traumatic day for your family, right?
Yes. Yes.
So you would remember that distinctly?
Yes.
Couldn't remember exactly when it was, but you remember the day that your only brother was arrested for the first time, right?
Yes.
So I want you to tell me about it. What happened, Anthony?
Well, I received the collect.
Look at me.
I received a collect call from our brother saying that he was arrested for domestic violence. He asked me to bail him out. I told him I wasn't doing it. So he had me call Rachel, and she agreed that she'll bail him out.
No, what did you say to Rachel when you called her?
I didn't talk to her. I called on three-way. He talked to her, explaining that he needed to be bailed out. So I was told to go pick her up. That's what I did.
And that's what you did?
Yeah, I went and got her.
Perfect. Now you can sit down. Now, it would have been much easier for me to ask her what happened, but I figured that Anthony was a better target because she says that you called her from jail and asked her to bail you out. And you say in your answer that that never happened. You say in your answer, I called my brother. He picked up Rachel and my daughter and they went to the bail bondsman. She took it upon herself to do that. But that's not true, Albert, because according to your brother, it was a three-way conversation. And you spoke to her and asked her to bail you out, right?
Man.
No, well, either one of two things are true, Albert, my friend. Either your brother's lying or you're lying. So you tell me who is lying, you or your brother?
Nobody.
Well, that's not true. You say that you didn't call her and ask her to bail you out. Your brother says you did.
Called her. I made numerous phone calls when I was in jail. So
either you're lying or your brother's lying.
Nobody lying.
Oh, yes. Albert. I mean, I could always make the decision for you if you'd prefer.
Okay, I mean, nobody's lying, though.
Well, you lied to me in your answer if you said that you didn't call her and you asked your brother to bail you out and she just took it upon herself to come down to the jail and bail bondsman and bail you out. Brother says that's not true. You told her that you got arrested for domestic violence. You needed to be bailed out. That's what he says. You told her.
I didn't get arrested for domestic violence.
What'd you get arrested for?
I got arrested for the simple fact is I picked up my daughter's mother and we got into an argument and I put her out on the freeway. She disrespected me.
What do you think that's called? Section 201.6 of the penal law? I picked up my baby's mother and I put her out on the freeway because she disrespected me? I never heard that. That's not part of the code that I was taught in law school. That's called domestic violence.
All right, that's what you want.
Albert. Okay, here we go. So you went down to the jail, you bailed him out, you put up $500. Is that right?
That's correct.
Perfect. Now show me proof that he didn't appear and that the bail was forfeited and that you are responsible for the $3,000.
The only thing I have is the most recent receipt from the bail bonds that is still a due balance on the bail, which, to my understanding, just means that he never went to court.
Your Honor, I never missed a court date.
He was just arrested for failure to appear, Your Honor.
Never missed a court date. Anything to do with this case, I never missed a court date. When I was released from jail, I went to court. If I missed a court date, they would have arrested me and put me back in jail for missing a court date. I never missed a court date. Anything to do with this case.
Your Honor, here is from our custody hearing, and it says that he was arrested for failure to appear.
Your Honor, that's not for this case. That's for another case.
I thought you weren't arrested again.
He just said he...
Shh, just a second. I thought...
What are you talking about?
Sir, listen to me. I said to you, how many times have you been arrested? You said once, in December 2003. I said, had you been arrested for, well, I don't remember, before 2003, but certainly not since 2003. So how could you be arrested on another case during the mediation?
That's a case that's from the year of 2003.
So that's the case involving your girlfriend?
No. I had another case that I was involved with.
Now you remember? Now it's coming back to you? Albert.
Man, come on, man. I'm trying to sit here and play me.
Now it's coming back to you, sir?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
Ex-boyfriend Albert Williams owes for bail money and for kicking a dent into the side of her car.
Listen, this is not sufficient that he did not appear in court. And I suggest you go to the bail bondsman and get that. Certainly, you put up $500 for the bail, correct?
Yes.
All right, and that was in 2003.
Yes, ma'am.
So what you're going to have to do is going to have to get better proof with regard to the $3,000, but certainly he's got to pay you back the $500 if he didn't do it. Did you pay you back the $500?
Nope.
You should have a voice change or something. $500. Now, tell me about the kicking of the car. When did that happen?
In October of 2004.
What took you so long to get here? This is 2006.
Yes, it is. And I filed for this in 2005, and in October, I believe it was. But at that point is when I was actually filing for other things for court dealing with him. So I just did it all at the same time.
Listen to me. Get over the kicking of the car that happened in 2004?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you filing against him for? Child support?
Child support and a custody hearing.
Okay, so you have a child together who's now how old?
4.5 months.
So I assume after he kicked your car, you got over that for a little bit.
Well, not really, but we well enough for us to do some things, yes.
Well enough to make a baby?
Yes, ma'am.
Not too clever.
No, but at that time, first off, his brother knocked out one of the dents in my car. Secondly, he did tell me that he had taken care of the bail and that he would have my car fixed once we got back together.
So he said that he was going to take care of the bail and take care of the cost. He decided to make a baby together.
I didn't say that.
Hi, quiet. Is that what you're telling me? I mean, you sound like...
Well, no, I didn't make the baby intentionally. The child just came. It was an accident.
From the stork?
No.
Come on.
I didn't make it. Let's say this. I didn't make it.
It wasn't planned?
No.
How many children do you have?
He's my first.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
You waited 23 years. You sound like an intelligent woman. What kind of work do you do?
Customer service, ma'am.
You sound like an intelligent woman.
Thank
you really do.
Thank you.
You waited 23 years. You couldn't have picked better?
I know.
What?
I know.
Oh, listen, he owes you the money. He owes you the money for the bail. You have a child together. You are unfortunately bound to him for the next at least 18 years. So this, momentary lapse that you had because you thought he was going to fix your car.
I never told her I was.
Oh. Please, don't make it any worse for her.
I ain't never told her I was. For real, man. Come on, man.
Listen to me. Please, do me a favor. Don't mumble. Not the place to mumble. You owe her $500 for the bail. I don't know if you owe her another $3,000 because you failed to appear. She's going to get paperwork from the court, which will show your failure to appear on the date you were supposed to appear and that you forfeited the bail. Right now, you owe $500.
Well, I got to pay back $500.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Because you were the one who got arrested.
I never promised to pay her back no money. She told me it was her job to pay the money. That's why she bailed me out.
You have a...
Man, you all over there with that yada boo-boo face.
Listen to me. Shh. Listen to me.
Okay.
How long have you worked for the same company?
I've been there for 7 months now.
And before...
Prior to that, 2 years with Comcast Cable.
Perfect. Smart gal, articulate gal.
I understand.
You had a lapse.
Yes, ma'am.
$500 is what he owes you. Lots of good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're going to need it. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of 5.
Down in the matter of Beck versus Meyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Beck, Mr. Meyer used to be your friend, and according to your complaint, you were arrested, unfortunately for you. And when you were arrested, you called and asked him to pick up your car for safekeeping and take it over to your parents' house.
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that while he did pick up the car, he did not return it in a timely fashion, returned it sometime later that evening, damaged the car while it was in his possession, put a move on your wife while you were in jail, and then damaged some video games or Xbox games that you would let him borrow, and he did that purposefully. Mr. Meyer says he has no clue as to what you're talking about. What were you arrested for?
I had a MIC, and it was an outstanding ticket.
What's an MIC?
Minor in consumption.
How old are you?
20. My wife is 21, and in the state of Texas, you can drink with your wife present.
Isn't that fascinating? That Texas is something. You mean you could do everything else, but you can't drink?
I guess that's how they do it.
Yes, yes. Minor in consumption.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it the first arrest you've had?
No. I've been arrested before.
For what?
Assault.
Assaulting who?
I was in a fight at a bar.
How long were you in jail in this minor in consumption?
Well, it's just a city ticket, so it was only for like 10 days. But I was on probation for the assault, and they revoked the probation because you can't drink while you're on probation.
Oh, you are one dumb dude.
I'm sorry.
How did you pick one dumb dude?
Since high school. He wasn't that dumb in high school.
You mean he's getting dumber? You mean he's getting dumber? You're in real trouble.
Hopefully by the time I'm 40, I'm still competent.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
All right, so you were arrested and your probation was revoked. Oh, Mr. Beck. When did you call Mr. Meyer to come and get your car?
I called him from the city jail.
And what time did you get to the jail?
I didn't actually go to the jail.
Who went to the jail?
Nobody needed to. My keys were still at the house.
Why did he have to go and get your car?
Because she can't drive a stick.
And it was parked on the street?
It was parked, yeah.
Okay, she had the keys, you went to the house, you picked up the car.
Yeah.
What time did you pick up the car?
It was
Respect.
sometime in the morning. I don't really remember when.
What time did he get to the house?
I guess it was around 6.
In the morning?
No, in afternoon, evening.
He got to the house in the evening at 6 p.m., is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
That could be right.
And what time did you drop the car off at Mr. Beck's parents?
I actually later on that night gave it to my wife to take over to his parents' house.
What time?
11 maybe.
And where was the car between 6 and 11?
I just had to run some errands. He said I could drive it, so I just used it for a little bit.
Well, that's 5 hours.
Yeah, he said I could use it.
Fine,
so.
but I just want to know where you went for 5 hours.
I actually don't remember.
Well, let's try to think about it. You knew you were coming to court today.
I think I went up to my store. I own a restaurant. I went up to my restaurant, did some work there, and I think after that I brought it back to my house.
And then your wife eventually took it to his parents.
Yeah.
Now, Miss Beck, what happened when Mr. Mayer came by and picked up the keys to the car?
I was...
Look at me.
Yes, ma'am. I was in the back bedroom. We were smoking a cigarette. We have a smoke room. We don't smoke in the rest of the house. And I was in the smoke room.
With whom?
With his wife and our ex-roommate. And I was looking out the window. He comes walking. He bends down like he's going to tie his shoelace. And when he stands back up, he kicks the passenger side. And then he walks around the car, gets in the car. He's doing burnouts and squealing the tires. And as he was leaving the parking lot, he actually almost got hit.
Well, why was he doing that?
Well, I was very upset with him for getting arrested for, you know, being
You were
dumb.
upset with your husband?
Yes, I was very.
And?
He was trying to be on my side, trying to console me, and he was very angry also, because I was upset.
I see. So he was angry that you were upset.
Yes, ma'am.
That your husband was being pretty stupid.
Because we had bills that we needed to pay, and he wasn't working. And
You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
1.
How old?
3.
How
He's
long did
very
you stay in jail?
70 days.
You weren't upset when you saw him take it out on his car, were
Well,
you?
it's my property, too. I'm mad at him, but I wouldn't want something that we would have to pay for to get fixed.
What kind of car do you have, Mr. Beck?
I have a 1998 Volkswagen Jetta VR6.
Did you do that, Mr. Mayor?
No, I didn't. When he got arrested, he got mad and threw stuff around the house, and that's what made me mad.
You all live together?
No, but it really upset her and their roommate as well. So I just went and got the car, and that's about all that happened. I didn't kick any car or anything like that.
I have pictures of the damage if you'd like to see
I'd like
this.
to see it.
All right.
I never did anything to his car. I just took it home. I went up to my store and did some stuff I had to do. and then I let my wife drop it off.
You mean this big dent in the door?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many cars do you have in the family?
2.
Is this the one you drive?
Yes.
You have a male roommate or a female roommate?
We had a male roommate.
When did the male roommate leave?
I kicked him out, I guess, right after he
December
had...
14th.
Yeah.
So you were out of jail?
Yes.
And this car is registered in whose name?
It's my father's, because I didn't have good enough credit to get a car.
So the car isn't yours?
I guess it is. I make all the
co-signer.
payments, and I'm on the loan, but
His dad
my
had
father's the
co-sign
main
for it.
signer on the loan.
Yeah, but the car is not titled in your name.
No.
Did you file a police report?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Who filed the report?
My father did when I was in jail.
What about you, Miss Beck? You didn't file the police report?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I had other issues I had to deal with, and when he got out of jail, I figured well, they were friends, so I figured I'd let him handle it.
Let's get to the video games.
Before I had gone to jail, Trevor had asked to borrow my Xbox game system, and when he returned it to me after I returned from jail, the games were scratched, the Xbox won't read games or anything.
There were a lot of people in my house who used it. It worked fine the last time I used it.
How much does that cost?
$300.
And the games?
Or $50 a piece.
How many games were there?
8. And if you'd like me to show you the damage on them, I can.
I would.
All right.
Well, this is purposeful, isn't
Yes.
it? I mean, this isn't the design of the disc, is it?
Nope.
No. Somebody did that purposely.
Yes.
It may not have been you. You borrowed it, right?
Yeah.
You're responsible. Not so for the car, because I can think of other scenarios how your car got dented.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know that
Says former friend Trevor Meyer damaged his VW Jetta by kicking it and stabbed his Xbox with a knife.
Now, it doesn't make sense that Mr. Mayor would do you a favor and at the same time destroy your property. Makes more sense to me that your wife gave the car a good crack.
Okay. I mean, I don't know.
You weren't there, but he says he didn't do it. And it just something doesn't ring true to me that if you called him to go and pick up the car and he went to the house, and even if he was annoyed with you, he would have said to you, I'm not going to help you. Let your parents go pick up your car. I'm really annoyed at you. I'm really angry that you're leaving your wife and your baby in this kind of lurch. I'm not helping you. But why in the world would he go over there to help you and then damage your car?
Because he was trying to get with my wife, and she was telling him no and all this.
I believe he was trying to impress me because I was mad at him.
You think he was trying to impress you. You were sitting in the back smoking a cigarette with his wife, and he was trying to impress you.
We've known each other for 10 years. He's always done that.
And we've always had a little rivalry going.
No, that's all right.
And my car is
That's
better
all right.
than
What I'm telling you, Mr. Beck, is it makes more sense that your wife was angry with you and went outside and dented your car.
Well, it's my property also. I have to make
It's
help.
not your property. It belongs to his father.
But I have to help, pay for it if Trevor doesn't admit that he did that.
You know that I actually know people who will break items in their house when they're angry, even though they purchased them themselves. I really know people like that intimately. Get good and angry at somebody, take a dish, fling it, take a good piece of china and say, try this on for size.
Well, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't do that?
No, ma'am. I try not.
Who knows? I
try
don't
to-
know. You certainly have more of a reason to do it than he does. So I'm not comfortable with the fact of calling him a liar and saying, you damaged the car like this. Mr. Beck, I don't know who did it, but he certainly is responsible for the property that he borrowed to return it in the same condition that he borrowed it. And for that, he's got to pay $700. Judge, thank you, brother.
You're welcome. Judge Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Romero, the defendant was a friend of yours.
Right. I've known her since I was 7 years old.
According to your complaint, she was having some marital difficulties.
Yes.
Complained to you that she was being abused by her husband.
Right.
And you loaned her money in order to retain an attorney to get a divorce and a restraining order against her husband.
Yes.
She subsequently reconciled with her husband. I assume this is the husband. Is that right?
Yes.
And you want your money back.
Right.
Okay. Ms. Rivera, how long have you and your husband been married?
For almost 30 years.
You have children?
Yes.
How many?
2.
How old are they?
28 and 24.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at the postal office.
What about your husband? What kind of work does he do?
He works on the UAW union.
For the union, for the United Auto Workers?
Yes.
When did you decide to leave your husband?
On late September.
September of 2005?
Yes.
I assume this was a decision that you didn't make lightly.
Yes.
Step up, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Rivera, were you aware of the fact that your wife was going to leave you?
No, I didn't find out until that date. She didn't return home It was a Saturday. I went to work, and she didn't come back.
Your wife looks like a very kind person, is she?
Yes, she is.
She's been a good mother to your children?
Yes, she has been.
So all the time she was raising a family, taking care of the house, because my sense is that she did all of that. Is that right?
Yes, she.
And taking care of you. She was also holding down a full-time job.
Correct.
So this lady that I'm looking at looks to me as if she is a responsible lady. She looks to me as if she was a good mother. Are your children nice children?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that she did a good job raising your children.
Yes, she did.
Were you a good husband?
Yes, Your Honor, I have been a good husband.
Why would you think your wife wanted to leave you, Mr. Rivera?
We had some problems, Your Honor, with mostly some issues that we've been having for several years. I have some problems at work in the last 3 years, but I've been kind of not paying attention on what I was doing.
So you were behaving badly, Mr. Rivera?
Yeah, I can say that, Your Honor.
Well, I'm asking you to say it, because if you don't say it, I don't want her to say it. I want you to say it. How badly were you behaving for 3 years before she left in September?
Well, I didn't notice it until it happens. I realized until I lose my wife for 28 years. So that's when I realized I have to rearrange my way of live. You know, have to take care of my wife.
Did you ever put your hands on your wife, Mr. Rivera?
No, I did not, Your Honor. I push him and shower, yes.
You what?
I push him and shower, yes, I did.
You put your hands on her?
Yeah.
Was that for 3 years or more than that?
No, that was a couple of days before she left.
How many times did you put your hands on your wife?
Just a time.
You know, I'm going to know, Mr. Rivera. Believe me, by the end of today, I'm going to know. Was it the only time you put your hands on your wife, or were there other times that you put your hands on your wife?
That's the only time I put my hands on her.
3 days before she left?
Yep.
What happened in your house that precipitated this, Mr. Rivera?
There was some bad discussions between her and I, and I take care of that. I've been taking care of the problem.
So since September of 2005, are you telling me that you have been a better husband?
I try to be a good husband.
Trying is not good enough, Mr. Rivera.
Yes, I have been, you know.
Have you put your hands on your wife since September, Mr. Rivera?
No, I have not. I have not.
Now we get back to you.
Okay.
So I assume it was on or about September of 2005 that Mrs. Rivera came to you and told you about the problem and said, I'm afraid of him.
Yes. Actually, we were at a family gathering on September 24th, and that's when we found out that he had been abusing her for years, several years. And she had said that she wanted to leave him, you know, she was planning to escape. For many years, she wanted to. And in fact, my witness here is her sister. And she went to her sister for help.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. She has been abused by Mario for more than 26 years. He also...
How? You mean physically abused?
Physically
or
abused.
Or emotionally abused?
Physically, emotional. He mistreats her. He whistles at her like a dog. He doesn't call her, Alicia, come over here. He whistles.
It would be the last sound he would make if he was my husband.
Yes.
It would be the last time you would hear him.
Yes, we all had mentioned
You believe
to her.
that, don't you? You believe that if you were married to me, sir, and if you were across the room and you wanted a glass of water and you whistled, it would be the last sound that would come out of your mouth? I want you to believe me,
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Rivera.
You believe this person. She's been lying to you.
Mr.
Your Honor.
Rivera, I want to tell you something, sir. Do I believe her? Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I look at your wife, and it took more than one little push, one little shove in September of 2005 for her to get up the courage to say, I'm going to leave him.
Let me mention, in 1992, the oldest daughter had called the police because he was beating her. Then the other one was in 2000.
Which we have the police report.
Can I see the police report, please?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're a baby and
Claims former friend Alicia Rivera owes for a loan to retain a divorce attorney. Veronica says Alicia's husband has been abusing her for years.
Well, Mr. Rivera, your wife's not a liar, is she?
No, she's not.
So if she told the police that you pushed her repeatedly into a wall and slapped her across the face 6 years ago, would that be the truth or a lie?
That's not true, Your Honor.
That is what you're telling me, Mr. Rivera, that your wife lied to the police?
That's what the police reported, but...
No, that's what she reported to the police.
There's also a letter of her daughter
on the front.
Just a second. Well, the last time this happened, sir, when your daughter reported it to the police, you told the police you'd had too much to drink. And that's why you pushed your wife. Victim G. Rivera, victim A. Rivera's daughter, observed her father push and hit her mother. She attempted to aid her mother, and the suspect pushed her. She then called police. Victim G. Rivera did not desire prosecution. That was the second prosecution. Suspect Rivera, that would be you, stated that he and the victim, A. Rivera, were having an argument and he pushed her. The suspect stated he had too much to drink. The suspect left the residence for the night. Listen, I just want to know whether there was a legitimate basis for her feeling frightened enough to come to you and ask you to help her. So she asked you to help her when?
On September 24th, at this family gathering, she was letting us know this. Prior to this, we did not know. We thought that they were, you know, a perfect married couple, and she was hiding it. So when she told us about it, our biggest concern from the stories that she told us had always been her safety. So I did recommend an attorney that I knew specialized in domestic violence. And she was telling me, you know, I don't have any money, I don't have access to my bank accounts.
Why don't you have access to your bank account, Mrs. Rivera?
Because I spend a lot of money.
No, she
You spend a lot of money? Who has access to your bank account?
I used to have, but not anymore, because if I have money, I know I will spend it.
So what do? You give it to him to take care of?
Yes.
But she don't ask for the money, Your Honor. She come and offer it to her.
Keep quiet until I speak to you. Don't say a word until I ask you a question. You get it? You understand what the rules are? I ask questions, you answer the questions. If I'm not talking to you, don't answer. Clear? Good. Now, did she ask you for the money for a retainer?
What ended up happening was I had called her and I asked her, did you go see the attorney? She said yes. And I asked her, did he put a restraining order against him? And she said, no, I need to give him, you know, $3,685 for the retainer's fee, but I don't have the money. She did say, I don't know what I'm going to do, because if I go back, he'll kill me. Those were her exact words. So we were scared. So I did tell her, I have it if you need it. And she said, oh, yes, please, please, I'll pay you back, I swear.
Fine. And so you wrote a check to the lawyer?
I wrote a check directly to the lawyer. And
I'd like to see it, please. Now, Miss Rivera, did you take this money?
Yeah, well, she gave it to my sister and she gave it to the lawyer.
No, we went together.
Who went together?
I took my sister. She was living with me because I was protecting her from him. She lived with me. I lent her my car so she can go for her physical because she had bruises from the beating that he gave her the night before the gathering, where she escaped because she had planned this for a year.
She showed you bruises on her arms?
Yes.
I want you to describe the bruises that you saw.
On her arms, some on her leg.
When my mouth moves, yours doesn't. Now, sister is not lying, Mr. Rivera, that your wife left you and moved into her house temporarily because she was afraid of you. See, otherwise, if your wife wasn't afraid of you, sir, she would have had her own bank account. She would have taken your clothes the first time you put your hands on her, cut them in two, and thrown them out the window, along with your luggage. But she left the house that she kept, the house that she maintained, the house where she raised your children. You may think that this is reasonable behavior, to be able to control another human being and to hurt them, physically and or emotionally, but that's unacceptable. You don't take out the fact that you're having trouble in your job on your wife. That's unreasonable, Mr. Rivera. That means that you're a baby and a bully. Maybe it's because you're short of stature. See, maybe because you're short, you think that you have to show everybody that you're a big guy. There are a lot of short people that suffer from that. They have a complex. That means little people are sometimes bullies, and they bully people who are less powerful. Maybe that's your problem. Maybe you need a psychiatrist to figure out what your problem is. Maybe you need an anger management counselor to help you figure out what your problem is with your wife. Your wife probably needs to get away from you forever. So that when she works, she has her own bank account, she has her own money, she has her own apartment, and that she's not living under the threat of being hurt every time you have a bad day at work and go and have a drink or two, Mr. Rivera. You think you're so different from all the other men trash that I've seen over the last 30 years? You're the same trash, you're just wearing a suit. You're bullying your wife, and that's unacceptable conduct. And since you take care of the money, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,685. That's all! Out!
Michael Hamilton is suing his ex-girlfriend, Jacqueline Bailey, for abandoning her pets in his home. Michael says Jacqueline left behind 6 cats, a litter of kittens, a hamster, and a Chinese water dragon.
You folks look so normal.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Hamilton, your lawsuit is one that I have not seen before. nor has Officer Byrd, I am certain, because we've been together for many, many years. This lady lived with you for a while with her children. She left. She was removed, according to you, by the police after an altercation. When she left her pets in your house, a whole gaggle of pets. And they were with you for several months, and you believe it's her responsibility to pay you what would have been the boarding rate for each of those pets. That's what your lawsuit is.
That's correct.
Let's start out with, what kind of pets did she leave?
There were 6 cats, 6 kittens, a hamster, and a Chinese water dragon.
Your Honor, they were gerbils, and there were 2 of them.
What's a Chinese water dragon?
It's a lizard of some sort.
A lizard. How big? Oh, shh. This is not a participation program. Now, how long had she lived with you, with her family?
We lived together for about 4 years.
And are you telling me that she had this kind of menagerie in the house all the time that you lived together?
Yes.
You must have loved her an awful lot. Who took care of these pets when she was living with you?
We all did.
When the kittens were born, were you all still living together?
Yes.
Where did the cats come from?
From litters throughout the years. She would find homes for most of them, but keep 1 or 2 from each
For the
litter.
family?
Right.
Well, what makes you think these are her pets?
I'm not a cat person, Your Honor.
Well, you became a cat person, Mr. Hamilton. You had cats for years, and you said you took care of them. Why would you think that these are just her pets?
Because that's where they all reside right now. Over and got the animals, most of them.
When Mr. Hamilton finally allowed us to.
Just to listen, this is not a ball game. You don't shout out here.
I didn't want them. I was forced to take care of them.
No, you weren't. All you have to do is pick up the phone, call the local Humane Society, and say, I'm bringing you over 6 cats, 6 kittens, a hamster, and a big lizard, because I don't want them anymore. Yeah, that is an option.
That is an option, but they were important to the children, and I felt it an obligation.
An obligation, Mr. Hamilton, does not create a lawsuit.
Okay.
If you felt an obligation to the children, you took on a responsibility. We don't translate taking on of a voluntary responsibility into a contractual obligation to take care of pets that were probably just as much yours as they were the defendants. Because if you lived together as a family for years, you fed them, you took care of them, they were born while in your home, which according to the laws of immigration would make them citizens of your house. You may have perceived them to be hers or her children's, but you voluntarily chose to take care of them. And Mr. Hamilton, you do not get paid for that. Now, you have a counterclaim, Miss Bailey.
Yes, I do.
The counterclaim says that he owes you some money for some property that you left at the house. Let's get to it relatively quickly.
Okay, Your Honor.
When did you leave the house?
September 12th.
And the police removed you?
Yes, they did.
Tell me what you did to cause the police to remove you from the house.
Mr. Hamilton and I got into an altercation after he had come home.
Stop playing with papers, Mr. Hamilton.
After he had come home drunk for about the 5th month in a row, and I'd had enough, and we got into an altercation, and my pinky ring scratched his nose, and because he has...
No. You assaulted him.
I assaulted him. He assaulted me first, though. He pushed me against the wall. I have a scar on my hand, and my hand came down and hit him in the nose, and I did assault him.
Hand came down.
Your Honor, I have the police report right here.
Mr. Hamilton.
Yes.
When I need your help, I'll ask for it. Okay?
Yes.
First thing, Miss Bailey, is you had children in the house?
Yes, I did.
How many children?
2.
How old were they?
14 and 13.
Do you drink?
Yeah, I used to. I don't anymore.
Did you drink when you were living with Mr. Hamilton?
Yes, I did.
So that the fact that he was coming home drunk at night wasn't a surprise to you?
No.
Because you were both drinking. Because if you were living in the house with your children, who were young teenagers, the person that you were living with, who is not their father, was coming home for 5 months, I would say shame on you.
Yes.
Because you were subjecting your children to a situation that was unhealthy. But if you were drinking along with him, then that's a problem that makes me doubly sad for your children. So it's pleasing if you're no longer drinking.
Most of the time I was not drinking with him, ma'am. Most of the time
Whether
he
you
was
were
out at the
drinking
bar
with him
by
or drinking
himself.
alone, that's not particularly relevant. All right. So you assaulted him and you were removed by the police.
Yes, ma'am.
Put your hand down. What do you think he owes you?
We had several things before Mr. Hamilton and I bought the home that he resides in now. Before we even met him, there are several things still left in the home.
Like what?
There's a cabinet in what used to be my son's bedroom. It is now Claudia's son's bedroom. There's a table in there. There's
Just a second. You know what cabinet she's talking about?
Yes, I do.
She wants to pick that up. You have a problem with that?
I do not.
Great. She's going to pick it up. Cabinet. It's yours. What else?
Living room set.
Just a second. You moved in with that? That was yours?
No, that is something that we bought together.
Don't tell me what you bought together. You just said to me there are things that you moved in with that were yours even before you were together.
Yes, there are several things there, ma'am. That was my home. My children's everything is there. Their heating pads, their medicine. Just
Miss
things.
Bailey, that's not what I'm about. That's not what courts are about. You said to me that you had certain things in that home that were yours before you started to live with Mr. Hamilton. What else?
There are two tables. One table has our remote controls to all of our TVs in it.
Table she's talking about? You have to describe them more clearly.
There's an oak table. It's in the right-hand corner of Claudia's son's bedroom.
Oak table. Is that what you moved in with?
Yes. And
do you know what we're talking about?
I do not.
This would be Claudia?
Yes.
Do you know what she's talking about, an oak table?
I have a faint idea, yes.
Good. She has a faint idea. That means she knows the table that you're talking about. That's an oak table. What else?
There's another table with a drawer in the front of it.
She can have that too.
So far we have one cabinet and two tables. What else?
I don't want to make you a laundry list, ma'am, but there are...
Good, don't make me a laundry list. If you want a
hundreds.
laundry list, Miss Bailey, if you want a laundry list, you marry somebody, and then there are courts that decide division of property. What else?
My daughter's pool.
What pool?
It's a 25 by 5 foot above ground swimming pool that Mr. Hamilton bought for my daughter for her 13th birthday.
Is that outside in your house?
It's outside the house. I have a picture of it. And it wasn't purchased for any individual. It was purchased for the enjoyment of the household. And it's an 18-foot...
What do you want to say, madam?
This was my pool.
You mean you were the only one who swam in it?
No, I was not the only one who swam in it.
Good, sit down. Anything else?
I'd like the living room set.
Can't have it. Where are you living now?
In a rental house.
Who furnished the house?
Churches.
So it's furnished?
No, it's not furnished.
Are you working?
She's got... Shh.
Are you working?
No, I'm on unemployment right now.
Why?
Because I left my job because of this situation, because I couldn't stop crying at work. This was
you have two children.
very, very stressful on me.
You have two children. I suggest you stop crying and start moving on. Cabinet, two tables, a week from this Friday. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They're not my animals. They never were my animals. They were hers and her children's animals.
He knows that everything in that home is half mine.
Tanya Silva is suing her brother, Sean Wong, for damaging a Jeep Grand Cherokee she loaned him. Sean claims he returned the vehicle in perfect condition.
Miss Silva, the defendant is your brother, and it is your claim that you loaned him your car, and he returned it damaged.
Yes.
And you want him to pay for the cost of the repair of the car. And your brother says he doesn't know what you're talking about. What is funny?
Oh, nothing, Your Honor.
Good. Your brother said there was nothing wrong with the car. He returned it in perfect, stellar condition. How old are you, Mr. Waugh?
33, Your Honor.
And you, madam?
30.
So you're the youngest sister.
Yes.
Why would you have to borrow your younger sister's car?
Your Honor, the vehicle was loaned to my roommate. It was not even lent to me. They made the deal when I wasn't even around. That's why I'm curious to wonder why I'm mixed up in all this.
Well, sir, you didn't tell me that in your answer.
What's that?
Do me a favor, Bird. Would you show this to Mr. Waugh, along with the scribble on the bottom, and ask him if that's his signature? That's his sworn statement that he made.
This was a statement I made over the phone. I mean, I wasn't there. I was physically not there when the deal was made. My roommate had totaled his Ford Explorer.
Why didn't you put that, sir, in your statement? You read it again today before you signed it.
I did read it again today, and I was told I couldn't make any changes, Your Honor.
That is not true, sir.
Oh, I apologize.
And if you want to make changes, you can go back and make whatever changes
I mean,
you
I
like.
did drive the vehicle. Like, on a Saturday, I drove it 5 miles every Saturday.
Mr. Waugh,
Yes, ma'am.
the plaintiff is entitled to know what your defense is. And when you write a defense, and your defense is that I returned the car in perfect condition, and therefore there were no damages, that's one defense. And if your defense is that there was never a contract made with you, an agreement made with you, that is a different defense. Therefore, I say
I
to
loaned
you,
the vehicle to my brother. It was for his benefit.
Listen to me.
Let me emphasize to the court that we are talking about a 1996 Jeep Cherokee with
Let me emphasize this to you.
170,000 miles.
Let me emphasize this to you. Where do you come from?
Massachusetts, ma'am.
Good. You can either go out and redo your answer and serve it to your sister, see if she wants to continue with this case today, or you can go back to Massachusetts and proceed there. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Tanya Silva and brother Sean Waugh are re-entering the courtroom after a recess. Judge Judy asked Sean to rewrite his response to Tanya's accusation that he trashed her Jeep.
Now, this is a recall of case number 554 in the matter of Silva versus Waugh. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir.
Miss Silva, have you seen your brother's new answer to your complaint? Well, I'm going to read it to you. Not only has he had a certain clarification of his mind, but his penmanship is also substantially improved since he initially signed this. Either he is taking some happy medication that I don't know about, or he was drunk when he signed it. He says, to clarify, she loaned the vehicle to myself, but primarily to my roommate. Before returning the vehicle, I had a Massachusetts state inspection conducted and passed on her car.
Silva, Tanya's husband.
When did you loan him the car?
In August of 2005.
Why?
Him and his roommate were in a jam, and so...
What kind of jam were they in?
Their only means of transportation had been in an accident, and since my husband had a spare Jeep, I decided that I would loan them my Jeep until Sean could get something else underneath his feet. I figured it'd be a few weeks, maybe a month tops, and it turned out that in December 31st, I finally received my Jeep back.
Had you asked for it back before?
I hadn't asked for it back. I had asked if he had any luck getting another vehicle. And he says, oh, we have another vehicle. It's in the process of being fixed.
But you hadn't gotten it back yet because you hadn't asked for it back prior to December.
Right.
And tell me where you went to get it back.
He had left the Jeep in his driveway. December 31st, I had received a phone call stating that their other vehicle was on the road. They were going up to New York for the weekend, and I could pick my Jeep up. And when I did go to pick up my Jeep, the keys were in the console, and as soon as I started my Jeep up, instantly my little Jeep emblem lit up inside the dash, stating that the coolant was low. And they were supposed to get an oil change, and it showed that there was no oil change done to it. My husband popped the hood, and that's when my husband realized that the antifreeze container was almost completely empty. And I decided, okay, we'll go down to the store, put some antifreeze in it. Upon backing out of the driveway, I hear a bang come from the front end as I'm turning out. And so after my husband put in almost 3/4 of a gallon of antifreeze in my brand new radiator that I had just had put in, it was still making a banging noise. That's when we called the dealership, and we set up an appointment for me to bring my Jeep back in to be fixed. And my Jeep didn't even make it to that appointment. My Jeep ended up breaking down beforehand. And in the meantime, I had gone through the inside of my Jeep, and I realized that instead of him saying he ripped my seat, he turned around and used some kind of black goo on the back of my seat. Instead of telling me he ripped it, he used something just to cover it up. And a big hole in my back seat. I don't know if it was some kind of liquid leather or some kind of black stuff that he just smeared all over the back of one of the back seats. And there was 3 chips in my windshield. 2 were extremely visible. And my driver's side mirror had been hit, and the liquid inside had made the mirror turn a pinkish color. When I confronted Sean on all these, he says, oh, no, I didn't do any of that stuff. I was also told from...
You can't tell me anything that you were told from anybody. Let me see the pictures of the car. All right, Sean.
I do know that he took my Jeep to the beach.
Listen to me. You don't know that.
I saw all the sand on the inside of my Jeep, all over the place.
Well, who knows whether he went to the beach or whether he brought the sand to the Jeep. How'd the seat get a hole in it?
That was from a bicycle, Your Honor. I did tear the seat. I owe her for that.
You put a bicycle in the car?
Yes, ma'am. My roommate would pick me up from work. I would take my bicycle to work and throw the bicycle in the back seat, and we'd go to the gym.
The operable word was throw. Okay. Let me see the bill, please. Did you have the seat fixed?
This is... No, I have not. I have an estimate for that.
I'd like to see it. Okay. You did a whole lot of stuff on the car. You checked the front engine. It was towed. You did a battery test. You replaced the muffler. You did a special oil change. Whole bunch of other things when you got it back from him after him having the car. Listen to me. It's 5 months. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Careful attention to me.
Wasn't that 4 months, Your Honor? August to December, that's 4 months, right?
Listen to me. August, September, October, November, December is 5 months.
Okay, 5 months.
Listen to me very carefully.
Yes,
I
Your
don't
Honor.
think you're adorable. Some people might think you're adorable. I don't think you're adorable. I think that you have some sort of problem. Either you're dyslexic, or you're an alcoholic, or you have some sort of a drug problem. Because I look at all of these things, sir, through the eyes of somebody that first signs their signature like this.
It's my autograph, Your Honor.
And then signs something like this. I told you, I don't think you're adorable.
I was rushing when
I don't think you're adorable.
Okay, Your Honor.
Good. Your mother thinks you're adorable. Maybe your father thinks you're adorable. Maybe your girlfriend thinks you're adorable. Your roommate thinks you're adorable. Not I. When you lend somebody your car, it's always a mistake. You're never going to get it back in the condition that you loaned it to them. And if you had to take it to the store and spend $700 to have it put back into tip-top shape, you'll think again before you lend him your car. However, he acknowledges that when he threw his bicycle in the back of your car, he cut the seat. They estimate that putting in new leather seats are going to cost you $809. And that he's going to pay for, because that shows irresponsibility when he took his bicycle and threw it in the back of the car not taking care to see that it was properly covered. He caused the damage through his negligence, and he's going to pay for it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $809. No, goodbye.
Frazier versus Pillsbury. Step forward.
20-year-old Nicole Frazier is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Matt Pillsbury, for rent and an electric bill. Nicole says Matt is a deadbeat.
You think he's nice looking?
Yeah.
That's on your side. You think he has good character?
Not anymore.
Do you think he ever had good character?
Maybe.
When he was 2. Since you know him, has he had good character?
No.
Do you think he's responsible?
No.
You think he's reliable?
No.
You think he'd be a good provider?
No.
You think he'd be a good father?
No.
You think he'd be a good husband?
No.
You think he's a good son?
No.
Nicole, so let's see what we got. We got somebody who's good looking, period. That's a very good life's lesson for you.
Yes.
Because as you get a little bit older, you want someone who would be a good husband, a good father, a good provider, someone with good character, someone who's responsible, reliable, someone who you can count on to be a mate. Someone who's good looking, that fades. After a while, you don't see that anymore. All you see are all the other things that he's not. Now let's get to your lawsuit, now that I've given you my bit of wisdom. You moved in with Mr. Pillsbury, and he was supposed to, according to you, pay the rent. Well, not only didn't he pay your rent, but he didn't pay his own. According to you, you laid out money for both Mr. Pillsbury and his roommate, who got shot during some altercation and is now on life support in the hospital. But you took care of all the bills with the promise by Mr. Pillsbury that he would pay you back. You got fed up, you broke up, and he hasn't paid you back. You want your money, not only for the rent that you laid out, but also for the utilities that both he and his roommate had you put in your name. And Mr. acknowledges that you paid the rent. You took out loans from your credit card to do that. Mm-hmm. You acknowledge that you paid, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you acknowledge that she paid the rent both for you and her, and when your roommate got shot, for your roommate, right?
Yes.
Utilities as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to tell me why you shouldn't be responsible for at least your half.
Well, in spring of 2005, she had moved to Corpus Christi to go with her mother, and I found out she had cheated on me, and I had broke up with her, and then she told me she wanted to be with me and everything like that, and that she would do anything to be with me, and she had moved back down from Corpus Christi and said that the only way we could be together would be for us to live together. And at this time, I lost my job, and she said...
You lost your job doing what?
I was working for Singular.
What?
Singular.
Why did you lose your job?
It's a vacation I took.
It's what?
I took a little vacation and...
That's not losing your job, Mr. Pillsbury. That's quitting your job.
Well, I'd worked there for a long time, and I was supposed to have vacation time, and I told my boss, and then I didn't show up.
Just a second. Let's go back a little bit. In what month did you move in with the defendant?
In March.
And in what month did you decide to take a vacation?
It was in March.
March? And how long did you work there?
About a year.
How much did you have in savings?
Excuse me?
How much did you have in savings when you decided to take this vacation?
Not that much. I didn't really decide to take a vacation. It's vacation time.
Vacation time? Well, usually when people take vacation time and don't report to work, they know they're going to get fired.
Well, I was assistant manager at the time, and my superior had told me that it was all right to do that, but the market director came in town and said, where's the assistant manager, and to relieve me.
Fired you?
Yes.
Because you needed a vacation?
Yes.
You're 22 years old. You'd worked a year. Oh, my God. Oh, he worked for a whole year.
Oh, the strain.
Oh, the stress and strain of this job. How many hours a week did you work for Singular?
About 45.
45 hours a week. And how many people did you take care of when you weren't working?
Just myself.
When did you go back to work?
I did not go back to work.
Well, how have you been supporting yourself?
My mom's been helping me out.
Big mistake. What's your mother's name?
Lucille.
Lucille! You're going to make him into a bum. So you stopped working in March of 2005? Mm-hmm. It's a year later.
I've been doing other things as well.
Like what?
Just jobs here and there for advertising for cell phone companies, passing out stuff here and there.
You mean passing out flyers?
Mm-hmm.
Did he tell you he was going to quit his job when you moved down?
No, actually, whenever I was living with my mother in Corpus and he spoke to me and wanted me to move back to Houston and move in with him, he told me that he was working 2 jobs. But later I find out...
Which 2 jobs did he tell you he was working?
He told me he was working as a bartender at a restaurant and at a cell phone company.
You were also working as a bartender?
I went through training and I didn't like it.
You didn't like what?
The job scenario, so I didn't follow through with that, and then I was still doing the cell phone advertising as well.
Were you working on a commission for Singular?
Yes.
Ah. Okay. How much was the rent?
The first month that I loaned them, I wrote out a convenience check from a credit card for $850. That was for Matthew's half, and that was for Chris's half, which was the roommate. Chris paid me back his half within 2 weeks, which we agreed. Matthew did not. So
Matthew owes you $425.
For the first month.
Go ahead.
The second month, I paid the full amount because that was when Chris was in the car accident and he was
Why
shot.
Why didn't you move back to your mother's?
I did after the second month.
Why didn't you first month?
Because Matt wanted me to be there. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, and
he lost his job in March. He wasn't working.
Well, he was playing poker.
He wasn't working.
I know.
So if you paid the entire rent for the two of them, that's your problem. Because you got to start to be smart too. Once you paid the $425 for him and he didn't pay you back, I wouldn't have put in another penny. That's just dumb.
Well, I felt bad for him. It was a traumatic
experience. Feeling bad
for
doesn't
his
involve
friend.
me. I don't feel badly for you. When did you pay the utility bill?
I put the utility bill in my name, I guess, August of 2005.
August of 2005? Why?
His electricity was going to get shut off.
Who cares? He still hadn't paid you back the $425, right?
Right. I know.
Tell her that you were going to give her the $425 back?
No.
Did your roommate Chris give her the $425 back? He did?
Yes.
Did you have a discussion with him about it?
Mm-hmm.
What was the discussion?
That you need to pay the $425.
Why?
Because he was the roommate at the time.
And what about you?
We were a couple at the time, and I did not have a job, and she's just helped out.
What was she doing?
She was working at a restaurant.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Not making very much money.
Making enough money to pay the rent?
Well, that was credit cards, which I was very stupid about opening them up.
You were?
I know that now.
Did you pay the rent in June?
No.
Who paid the rent in June?
She did.
No, she didn't move down there until July, sir.
He didn't live in that apartment in June. He moved.
I'm talking about in June. Did you pay rent?
No, I was living in a one-bedroom.
Did you pay rent?
Yes.
How much was the rent?
$625, I believe.
Who were you living with?
I was by myself.
And you paid the rent?
Yes.
So you stopped paying rent when she moved in with you?
Well, I lost my job.
Just answer my question. So you stopped paying the rent when she moved in with you and you moved in with your friend Chris into a new apartment?
Yes.
You owe $425. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, she helped me when I was down and out.
He said he didn't owe me the money because I lived there.
And never really said that I had to pay her back.
And I should have paid the bills.
And now she's taking me to court, so I have to pay her back. What can I do?
Because he doesn't.
Versus Pope. Step forward.
John Jones is suing his ex-wife, Lori Pope, for her share of their kids' medical and dental bills. Lori says it's John's responsibility to pay.
Mr. Jones, you and the defendant were married. You had 2 children. You are now divorced.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have custody of the children. How old are they?
My son is 16 and my daughter's 13.
How long have you had custody of the children?
Since June 2004.
It's that each of you was responsible for 1/2 of the children's medical and dental bills.
Yes, that's correct.
And that despite the fact that you've made demands on Miss Pope, she has refused to contribute her half of the children's outstanding medical and dental bills, which according to you are $2,216. That would be her share.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pope has a different interpretation of your judgment of divorce. She says that the judgment of divorce provides that you have insurance, then this provision kicks in with regard to the medical and dental bills. But she says she has maintained continuously a policy of medical and dental insurance for the children. And therefore, if you chose to pay this money, that was your prerogative, but she's not reimbursing you. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at the judgment of divorce. Well, this says if a parent does not have health insurance, and you don't have health insurance, correct, for the children?
No, I did not.
So he didn't have it. And because he didn't have it, he has to pay 50% of the reasonably incurred uninsured medical and dental and orthodontic bills, okay, if the bills are provided to the other party within 30 days of the date of treatment.
Which they were not. I've never seen a bill yet.
Well,
that's not true, Your Honor.
The fact that you have not seen them does not mean that he hasn't given them to you.
No, he's never given them to me.
I have mailed her several times. I have sent certified letter, come back, she won't pick it up.
I've never received a certified letter.
I have called her many times, and I either get F you or I don't have any money,
I don't say
and she
that.
hangs up.
Fine. Okay. Let me see the medical and dental bills that you have for the children, sir.
What's there?
There's other things he hasn't told me, like the MIPs my children have received, minor in possession of alcohol. Between the two of them, they've received 3. They're 13 and 16.
Well, can I ask you this question, madam?
Yes.
Why would the mother of these children raise that issue here in court?
Because if he's not telling me about these, why is he going to tell me anything else about the kids?
That's not what I'm asking you, Ms.
Okay.
Pope. What I'm asking you is why would the mother of 2 young teenagers want to expose something about the children that is negative on national television?
Because that's the way their father's raising them. He's not taking care of them.
Shh, just a minute.
He's not taking care of them as he should.
Well, then go to court, madam, and seek to modify the judgment of divorce.
I just found out about these.
What I'm telling you is, if you paid closer attention to your children, then you would know what they were doing. And it's my understanding from reading your papers that he gave up support for the children on condition, and the condition was, the quid pro quo was that he remained in the family home. And so you gave him the home. But then you moved 100 miles away.
And I notified the courts.
I don't care whether you notified the courts. Why would you move 2 hours away from your children?
For a job.
That's nonsense. You mean you couldn't get a job closer to your children?
Your Honor, she had a job to start with.
Don't make up stories as we go.
I'm not making up stories as we go.
If you don't...
I want to move away because I had to get away from him, for one thing, because his mom would stalk me. I've got proof. That's not having to do with this court.
Your Honor.
What I'm trying...
Shh. I'm telling you that if you have 2 young children and you move 2 hours away from them so that you don't see them every single day or every other day, don't complain about the way they're being raised, especially on national television in front of 10 million people. He's not here about whether or not your children have been in trouble. He's here about whether or not you have paid or have not paid half of their medical and dental bills. And since you pay no child support, I would assume that the least you can do is pay for some of their medical and dental bills.
I have paid child support up until they took it away from him. He got his child support. I also will have paid them had I known about them.
Well, now you know about them.
Right.
Good.
But, Your Honor,
what?
It states that he is to notify me, and he never notified me.
I don't believe that that's true.
Okay.
I believe that you may not have looked at it, but according to him, not only did he send letters and stuff, but on the few occasions when you came to see the children, he would give you the bills and you'd throw them in the back of the car.
No.
Yes.
You know what doesn't make sense is somebody taking you to small claims court, taking time out of their job, especially when there shouldn't be any problem. He's got custody of the children. He's got the house. Why in the world would he interrupt his life when all he would have to do is to send you copies of the bills, which you are waiting for, and you'll pay them? Instead, he goes to court, takes a day off from his job, takes another day off from his job to file the papers and to come here. Why would he do that if all he had to do was to send you the bills and you were going to pay half?
Because that's the way he has done our entire divorce.
Doesn't make sense, Ms. Pope. What your whole story to me doesn't make sense. You want to show her these bills so that she can have a look at them?
Your Honor, there's several times I've called her, and I have given her bills when she stopped at the house. The one bill that I just showed you, I gave it to her. She simply grabbed it, threw it in the back seat, and goes, I don't effing want that. Right in front of the kids.
Nope.
She does that all the time.
Mr. Jones, listen to me. Your problem was that you waived child support for your 2 children.
That's the only way that she would settle out of court. This went on for almost 3 years.
4 years, then.
And
No,
to
that's
the best
not.
interest of the children, I decided, you know, I don't want any child support from you. Let's just get it over so the children
Well, I got to
can go
tell you
on.
something. In many jurisdictions, they won't let you do that. Put that down. Child support is not your right. Child support is the right of your children to be supported by 2 parents, the 2 parents that brought them into the world. Just because Ms. Pope happens to be a woman does not relieve her of the obligation of paying child support for her children. And if that's the deal that she managed to extract from the court, that's a pretty good one. I would never have signed off on it. In any event, you owe him $2,216.47. Pay him. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Anna Bashenstein is suing her former employee, Paul Brunst, for damaging her horse trailer. Paul says Anna fired him before he could pay her off.
Ms. Bashenstein, you hired the defendant to do some odd jobs around your residence, including tree clearing and getting rid of some brush. At some point, Mr. Brunst was using a trailer of yours to dispose of property.
That's right.
From your house. And there was an accident with the trailer, and the trailer was damaged. There was an agreement, according to both of you, that in lieu of paying for the damage, Mr. Brunst would continue to work for you, pretty much free of charge, and continue to clear the trees.
That's
correct?
Right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then there was a brush fire. You set some fire to some brush, and you were burned.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you decided that you didn't want this guy around anymore. He was like an accident looking to happen, so you terminated his employment.
He wanted to keep working to pay off the trailer.
Correct.
And I thought it wasn't a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So you terminated your contract with him, your oral contract with him, to allow him to work off the damage.
Yes.
Now you want him to pay for the damage.
Exactly.
Interesting. How much did she pay you in the time that you worked there?
I was around $480.
It was $382.40.
$382. And how many days did you work there?
I worked there for about a week and a half.
That's not true. It was less time than that. I was paying him $10 an hour.
Just a second.
so-
Shh, listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work was he doing?
He was clearing brush.
And trees?
Yes.
When I say trees, I mean cutting down trees and taking them away?
Well,
That would be a yes or a no?
Yes.
Had you gotten other estimates for that work?
Yes.
And what were the other estimates?
I got them from 2 different tree guys.
Okay, and the 2 different tree guys gave you estimates for how much?
Approximately $5,000.
Say it a little louder.
Approximately $5,000.
And certainly Mr. Brunst was doing it for a lot less.
Yes, he was unemployed and was
Second,
asking.
listen to
okay.
me. How much did he clear?
Maybe
Mr. Brunst?
50 to 100 square feet.
How much did you clear of the property that had to be cleared?
A little over half of it.
That's not true at all.
Madam, you breached a contract. There was an accident with the trailer. There's no indication that there was an accident with the trailer because he intentionally damaged the trailer. Is that right?
He didn't intentionally damage it.
Of course not. The trailer, according to you, at some point the hitch broke,
He
chain broke.
He never had it hitched up. so-
Whatever it was, and it rolled down a hill and it was dented.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and you had been using it for how long?
About 3 days.
And how many trips did you make with it in the 3 days that you were using the trailer to dispose of this brush?
4 trips.
And it was on the 4th trip or the 5th trip that there was this accident?
It was on the 5th trip, Your Honor.
So you made 4 successful trips?
Yes, Your Honor.
No problem.
No.
So there's no indication that this was done with any malice. He wasn't drunk. It was an accident.
Right.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
I do, and it's covering his health care since he didn't have health care. And the reason that the fire happened and he wound up with medical expenses was that he dumped 5 gallons of gasoline on the fire in order to start it, even though he told me that he'd been to the fire department, talked to them about the proper way to have a brush fire to dispose of the brush, and I kept telling him to use his best judgment and to dispose of the brush in the way that he
He
found.
used his best judgment. His best judgment wasn't good enough.
Apparently
Ms.
not.
Brutchenstein. He was giving you a bargain rate. Bargain. $10 physically
I
for.
just don't know what
He
the
was
rate
giving-
has anything to do with.
Listen to me very carefully. I don't answer your questions. You answer
Okay.
mine. You were getting a bargain rate from somebody who was clearly unskilled because according to you and according to him, he was out of work. I thought he was being very nice when he said, listen, I used this trailer 4 times. On the 5th time, whatever, the chain broke loose and it went down a hill. But I'll work off the money to fix it by working for you until it's paid off.
That seemed fair.
That was very nice.
Right.
He didn't stop working for you. You fired him.
I think I was well within my reason. He seems extremely accident prone.
Well, madam, you picked him. You picked him. You picked him to work for you. You had an opportunity to check his credentials. You had an opportunity to see if he ever had done this work before. You had the opportunity to go to the fire department just like he did. And you said to him, without doing any of those things, use your best judgment. Unfortunately, his best judgment wasn't good enough.
And
he
that's what I
burned
was paying
himself.
the $10
So I
for,
suggest.
apparently.
That's right. Absolutely right. But you had a contract with him, and your contract was he was going to continue to work off the damage done to the trailer. And if he had left without doing that and said, I'm not working for you anymore, well, then you would have had a cause to sue him. But because you changed your mind doesn't mean that you can sue him. You fired him. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Okay.
Parties are excused. You may step out. You've been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Miss Coburn, you sold Mrs. Scotese a used car.
Correct.
Her car. She made payments on it for a while, and according to your complaint, she stopped making the payments. You repossessed the car.
Correct.
You want the balance that she owes you for the original purchase price.
Correct.
Miss Scotese says she made most of the payments on the car. You repossessed the car, but when you repossessed the car, her property was in the car, and she is counterclaiming for her property. That's your property. So that's going to be turned over to you. So that resolves your counterclaim. When was the car purchased, Ms. Coburn?
November 19th of 2004.
And what was the purchase price?
$2,800.
What kind of car was it?
1992 Mazda MX-3.
Were you friends? Did you know each other at the time of the sale?
I knew her from her sister.
So you weren't strangers?
No.
How much of a deposit did you leave, Ms. Scotese?
I put $1,000 down when I went and picked up the vehicle.
You agreed that
Yes,
that's what she put down. When was the car repossessed?
October 14th of 2005.
From November 2004 until October of 2005, how many payments did Ms. Scotese make on the car?
3.
And what were the amounts of the payments?
2 $200 payments and 1 $100 payment.
Now, Ms. Scotese, I assume you're going to tell me that you paid more than the $500 ascribed to you by Ms. Coburn.
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you say you paid?
I did pay the $300, or the $500 she's speaking of were made in check forms my sister had wrote. However, when she came to Spokane, she was given $300 cash,
while my sister was at my sister's house. And then I have made...
Who paid the $300? You or your sister?
I paid the $300 cash at my sister's house with my sister there.
Is that right?
That is incorrect.
Okay. Where is the car now?
I've actually resold the car.
For how much?
$400, which I have evidence for all the damage and stuff.
No. Show me proof that you sold the car for $400. Who did you sell it to?
Monica.
Who was that person?
She's just an individual that was interested in the car.
Do you have a Blue Book value on this car?
No, I actually don't.
Well, let's find out. Bert, could we find out about a 1992 Mazda MX-3 CP?
Fair is $1,000. Good is $1,450.
Well, you gave Monica a real bargain at $400.
That was due to the fact that there was a lot of damage to the car, which I have estimates for, if you'd like to see those.
What kind of damage?
There's a dent on the driver's side door with black scratch marks. The driver's side mirrors broke. The check engine light kept on coming on, and then something with the transmission came up.
You have a report on the car?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
I have pictures as well. Would you like to see those?
I would. Well, that's not much of a dent. How'd the mirror get broken?
The car was recently hit at work, in my parking lot at work, and I was working on, actually, the insurance company fixing it from the vehicle that hit it.
Why did you stop making payments on the car?
Because I had moved, and I had fallen behind on my car payments, and we had spoken, and we had made an agreement that I would catch myself up. That way the car was paid off in August like we had discussed. At that time, that's when I made the $400 and the $300 money order payment, owing still $200 to her. I had problems with the vehicle since I bought it, and she's very aware of this. I already had transmission, and it's a used car.
Old car.
Oh, yes, and I'm not blaming her for these, but I'm saying that the issues that she's describing are the same issues I've had since I've had the vehicle.
Okay, she's entitled to her money.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Judy?
she's entitled to her money.
Fine with me. Okay, she sold the vehicle. Can I ask when that was? Because 2 days ago, my sister seen the vehicle parked out on the street in Spokane with my belongings, some of my belongings still in there. So I have a feeling that all my stuff is not there.
The 19th of November.
And on the 28th, my sister had taken some pictures seeing the vehicle parked in Spokane with still some of my belongings in that vehicle.
How would that happen?
The car is still in Spokane due to the fact that I had to get the estimated damages to make sure that it was able to come back over to Seattle because it was clunking and the engine light was coming on, and it was wanting to
Just a second.
stall.
So you're telling me that you sold the car to this person that you didn't really know, Monica, and you sold it to her on the 19th of November, but you still kept it in your house on the 26th of November?
No, it's not at my house.
Or on the street?
It's at the shop where the estimate came from.
It's
that is where the car
Firestone. She doesn't even live in Spokane.
Just a second. That doesn't sound right to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Can't say because I was...
This former friend, Jessica Scotise, owes for the balance on a car she sold her. Jessica is countersuing for the return of belongings.
How do you know Monica?
She's an affiliate through a friend of mine.
Now I don't believe you.
Seriously.
No, now I don't believe you. I asked you who she was before. Before you didn't tell me that you knew this person.
Well, I really don't know her specifically. I know of her through somebody
Listen,
else.
you sold the same car twice. She gave you at least $1,500 for the car. And I'm not so sure that Monica, who lives in a post office box, according to this, gave you only $400. Sometimes people put that down so that they can reduce the tax that they have to pay when they go and register a car. That sometimes happens. You do know that, don't you?
I understand that.
Good. So you sold the same car twice. I wouldn't complain.
7 on the calendar in the matter of Blakely versus Burns. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Miss Blakely, the defendant was your boyfriend for a period of time. Do you have a child together?
Yes, we do.
How old is that child?
18.
According to your complaint, you were living together and Burns was arrested for domestic violence.
Yes,
you
he
were
was.
the complainant in that case. Mr. Burns had 2 prior felonies, and he was held in jail for 9 months while the trial was pending. And according to you, you advanced him certain monies by putting money on his prison books so that he would have money to spend while he was in jail, and also paying some of his bills while he was in jail, all according to you with the understanding that he was going to pay you back when he got out.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burns says there was never an agreement to pay you back, that the reason you paid all these bills was because you felt sorry to begin with for getting the police involved with Mr. Burns, because you really didn't expect him to be incarcerated for so long. As a matter of fact, you tried to have the charges dismissed all during the 9-month period. I believe that you acknowledge that you did. Is that right?
Yes.
And ultimately, he probably took a plea to some misdemeanors. A misdemeanor assault and a disorderly conduct?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you weren't going to risk going to trial and being found guilty of a felony, which would have meant forever. Is that a fair statement?
Fairly adequate, Your Honor.
And then when he got out of jail, despite the fact that you thought he was coming home to you, he went back to his ex-wife.
Right.
So you want your money.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Burns has already responded and said that there were no loans, that this is money that you paid voluntarily. And he is counterclaiming, and I read through his counterclaim, and mostly, sir, aside from all the other nonsense, you're asking for your personal property back.
Correct.
What personal property do you have in her house?
My clothes, DVD players, CDs, DVDs, golf clubs, law books.
Where's all of his stuff?
Jewelry.
Miss Blakely.
In the back of my Jeep. I brought it with me.
Oh, great. What did you bring?
Everything that he asked for. He only had one DVD when he showed up, and that's what he's going home with. He came in a U-Haul truck with my daughter.
When did he come to your house?
July 1st on 2004.
Where had he been before?
In 29 Palms.
With your daughter?
Yes.
How long was your daughter living with her father?
Until his wife decided she wanted to beat on Nikki, and Nikki left.
All right. Okay. Now, do you have his golf clubs there?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
And they're all still straight?
Yes.
All right. Everything that's in the back of your car, make sure he gets.
He will.
We'll see to it that there is certain security there to make sure that that's a transition. All right. Now, let's hear about this money. She laid out money for you?
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
She put money on my books.
Did you ask her to?
No, ma'am.
If she didn't put money on your books, how is the money going to get there?
You can pay over the internet. She used my credit card to put money on my books.
You have proof of that?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it. JPay 105, jpay.com for $207.95. Okay, so I have some money there. Now let me see what you paid.
I have paid. It's all marked in my calendar.
I'm not interested in your calendar. I'm interested in proof that you put money on his books.
It's kind of hard that way in that because I would mark on the calendar every time I put money on his books. There was 2 times that I did use his account with his permission to go through JPay. And that, other than that...
Listen, madam, listen to me very carefully. I gather from his answer that you are no stranger to using his ATM card and taking money out without authorization, because that was already dealt with and the bank returned the money. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
listen to me. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yes. All I want to see, Miss Blakely, is proof, not your calendar, money orders, checks, bank statements that you, from your own personal account, took money and put it on his books.
The ones that say court are is the money and so forth that I... Excuse me, Your Honor.
Just a second. This has nothing on it. Give this back to her. So far, you have receipts for $200. All right, let us assume for a moment, Mr. Burns, that she put $200 in your account.
The only question I have on that, ma'am, is on those money orders. First off, when she did put money on my books, it was at the Todd Road facility, not at the Ventura courts, and it was cash, and she was giving a cash receipt.
Can you please tell me what date you were in jail, sir?
I was arrested February 23rd, 2004, or 2005, excuse me, and I was released from custody 11/29/05.
Well, this receipt that you just gave me was November 3rd, 2004.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going through a bunch.
So now I have 2 receipts for $50. Mr. Burns, listen to me very carefully, sir. You know what this $5,000 case is going to cost you, sir? It's going to cost you $100. Is that a bargain?
Sold.
You're absolutely right.
Can't I prove my collect calls?
Absolutely not. We wouldn't be here today if he didn't go back to his former wife. There's no question in my mind about that. Now, that's a good reason for you to be really annoyed.
Well, it's not that I'm...
Yes, you are.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Get over it. The romance is over.
Claims ex-boyfriend Stephen Burns owes for the money she gave him while he was in prison.
You feel used, you feel abused, you feel as if you didn't do the right thing. The truth of the matter is, I don't know about this alleged assault that took place, but clearly from what you told me in your complaint, you drove the district attorney crazy because after you had him arrested, all you kept doing was going to court and trying to drop the charges. Then you went, you got his ATM and the PIN number, and you took money out of his bank account.
I have a letter here with his permission.
That he gave you permission to take money out of his bank?
Yes.
How much money did you take out of his bank?
What he told me to take out.
Just tell me what.
His $400.
What did you do with it?
It went through JPay.
Miss Blakely, get over it. The romance is over. So
I
you
don't
took
care
out
about
his
it.
money and paid the prison books with his money, and now
No,
you're suing
not
him
with
for
all
that
his
money?
money. He had his Social Security.
Found in the matter of Smith versus Grody. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Ms. Smith, according to what I've read in your complaint, you and Mr. Grody were dating. You went to a Christmas party with him using your car. He drove home from the Christmas party. There was an accident, and he totaled your car. You were a passenger in the car. You want $5,000 so that you can buy a new car, and Mr. Grody says that it was, in fact, an accident. There was snow and ice on the road, and you should have had better insurance if the car was so valuable. That's your defense, right? Okay. Let's see. This Christmas party was on what date?
December 4th of 2004.
And how far from your home was the Christmas party?
Well, from my home, it was about an hour and a half. From where John lives, it was about 40 minutes.
And I see from your complaint that it was originally your intention to sleep over.
Yes.
And you had hotel reservations.
I do not know if there was hotel reservations. I did call to get a receipt for the hotel reservations. They said that...
You made arrangements to stay over.
I did not. John said that he was going to make all the arrangements.
Okay. And that was because...
It was his Christmas party.
And you were both going to be drinking.
Yes.
So that was a very wise thing, to make arrangements to stay over.
Okay, we didn't make arrangements before we got there. Our whole thing was actually that we were going home that night. When we got there was when everybody said, oh, we're all staying here, so do you want to stay? And originally she said she didn't want to stay.
And what
She said
about
we
you?
didn't have the money to stay.
Your Honor.
Just a second, he's talking. Go ahead.
So when we were actually, when we were there, and I said, all right, well then, I wanted to stay there. She said we didn't have the money to stay there, so the plan was to drive home after that.
Who didn't have the money?
Both of us, either of us.
So you didn't have the money either?
Well, I offered to pay. I mean, I had a credit card on me. I could have paid, but then she said she didn't want me to. So the plan was to go home.
Mr. Grody, were you drinking?
Yes, I was.
Was she drinking?
Yeah, she was.
Then you find the money to stay over.
Okay. And,
Good.
All right.
Now, what time did you leave the party?
I had to be around 12:30.
And what time had you arrived at the party?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
I believe it was around 8 o'clock.
What kind of alcohol were you consuming that day, Miss Smith?
I had some wine with dinner, and then in the bar area, I was drinking Captain and Diet Coke.
And what were you drinking, Mr. Grody?
Corbel and Diet Coke.
Corbel and Diet Coke. Is that a mix?
It is for me.
What, really? I mean, do you mix those two together, or you drink the Coke as a chaser?
No, I mix them together.
You mix them together?
Yep. I'm a brandy boy, sorry.
I guess it ain't a mimosa. I guess it's a Melissa.
Melissa, that's cute. That's cute. I wouldn't record it anywhere, but it's cute. How many of these bizarre drinks did you have that evening? Okay. So you know that you were in no position to be driving home.
Before we left, I did stop drinking a while before we actually did leave.
How old are you, sir?
23?
How many hours into the drive home did you have this accident?
About 40 minutes. We were about a mile away from my house.
Is there a police report?
Yes, I have an
I'd like
accident
to see
report.
You're driving on a suspended license?
No.
Did you have a license?
Yes, I did.
It says that you were cited for driving too fast for the conditions,
Mm-hmm.
failure to notify police of an accident,
Correct.
and operating after a suspension.
Right. Actually, everything didn't go through. I actually paid the ticket that I had it suspended for before that, but it didn't go through in that township.
What was your license suspended for?
For not paying a ticket or not appearing in court for a speeding ticket.
Did you get a ticket for driving too fast for the conditions?
Yes, I did.
Okay. According to your complaint, Miss Smith, he was angry that evening when you left.
Yes.
Is that right? Tell me about it.
Well, we were all just, socializing, and I went up to the bar to get a drink. And while I was waiting for my drink, a guy just randomly struck up a conversation with me. We were just chatting while I was waiting, and apparently John here didn't like that, and he came up and he had made a remark to the individual that was talking to me. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but I could definitely, he was aggressive in his body language towards this guy. So I really didn't want to, push the issue. I just stayed where I was, thought that he would just, have like 5 minutes of cool down time, and I would stay there. But then immediately he came back up to me, and he just said, "We're leaving now." And
what time was that?
I believe it was around 12:15.
Okay. And did you leave?
Yes.
And you let him drive?
Well, physically I let him drive because I knew I could not physically stop him from driving. He had possession of my keys because I allowed him to drive us to the party. And so he was angry. I was very scared. He's much larger than I am.
Shouldn't have gotten into the car.
I understand. I shouldn't have gotten into the car.
The car's just steel, replaceable.
Understandable. I was clearly not thinking about the best thing. Yes, and also, even if it hadn't been drinking, I believe due to the scare factor, I just didn't want him to, of course, damage my property that I worked very hard. And I know that's a very irrational thought. You know, my body is much more precious than a chunk of metal, like you said.
You're right. So what happened on the way home?
He just kept saying that, why were you talking to this guy? This was my party. You're my girlfriend. Being very possessive, being very jealous.
Okay. And some of the booze talking, too.
Possibly, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I freaked out and I said...
And John Grody crashed her VW Jetta while driving drunk. Audrey also says John was irate when he got behind the wheel.
Keep going.
And so he was speeding, agitated, and I looked at the speedometer. And it was at 80 miles per hour. And I freaked out and I said, John, you need to slow down, you need to slow down, it's dark, you know, we're on country roads and you've been drinking. But it was too late. Then next thing I remember was him saying, oh. And then I blacked out momentarily. And then the next thing I remember, he was saying, get out of the car now, get out of the car now. And I was very disoriented. And so he pulled me out through the driver's side door. And...
Okay. I was going 85 about 10 miles before we actually crashed. I slowed down before we actually went around that curve because I go around that curve every day. I know that it's a bad curve and there's accidents there all the time.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 99 Volkswagen Jetta.
The car was totaled?
Yes.
Did you tell her that you were going to get her another car?
We had a car at work. I'm auto mechanic.
That's not my question.
Yes, I told her that I was going to buy her the car that we had at work and fix it for her. And it was more than equivalent to what she had. She said she didn't want that car. And after that, I'm not obligated, and I did not feel obligated to actually buy her a car. I thought it was just a nice gesture for me to do.
It's not a nice gesture, sir. You caused an accident.
Right.
Your lack of judgment, by virtue of the fact that you had been drinking all night, your lack of judgment and getting behind the wheel and being emotionally agitated with her that evening, which you clearly were. There's no question in my mind that that happened.
Right.
The police indicate that you were driving in excess of the speed limit. Your answer that you provided me says that you had this accident because of the road conditions, because it was icy, going in excess of the speed limits, which the police document.
It says too fast for conditions.
That's absolutely right. Too fast for the conditions. Too fast for the conditions. Too fast for the hour of the evening. It was dark. Too fast for the fact that you had been drinking champagne and Coke a whole night. All of those things put together suggest to me that this was not an accident brought about by virtue of the fact that accidents sometimes happen. You were doing the wrong thing. And because you were doing the wrong thing, she doesn't have a car anymore.
Right.
So take care of that. You have the Blue Book value on your car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
I did give her my car, by the way.
Shouldn't have it anymore, does she?
Yeah.
Yes, I do have, it was signed over to me, but I also have the NADA value of that.
Just a second. Hold it, my dear. You accepted the car from him and you registered it?
Not at first. At first, he gave it to me. He said, you can borrow this car until I buy you the replacement for your totaled vehicle.
Okay.
I said, thank you. I told him, like, well, you know what? I'm going to take the car for now, and then I'm going to sue you for the rest.
Is that what she said to you?
Yep.
What kind of car did you give her?
95 Corsica Chevy.
Are you telling me that you signed the title over to her?
Correct.
And she said to you, I'm going to take this car, but I'm going to sue you for the rest of the money that I think you owe me, and you said, okay, I'm going to sign over the car anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Why in the world would you do that?
Because otherwise, if I took the car back from her, how would she get anywhere?
What do you care?
I don't want to be a jerk. I understand that she didn't have a car because of me, and I didn't want to be a jerk. I wanted her to be able to get around.
You've been driving this car since April?
I've actually been driving it since the accident happened. And the reason why I needed it transferred over into my name is because I found out that he did not carry insurance on it. And I was driving the car, and I need insurance. And in order to carry insurance, it has to be registered in my name. So that's why I had to do that. Otherwise, again, I would be left with no car.
Okay. Why don't you have her sign this title back over to him?
Signature of the seller, I guess.
Okay, can I borrow your pen? Thank you.
Good. Now he's got his car back. Go pick it up.
Okay.
It's yours. And now you'll pay her $5,000 so she can go out and buy a car. Just for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000.
Thank you, Judge.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought it was.
This is welfare. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Joe Marquez is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old student Jamie Welfare, for selling his washer and dryer. Jamie claims the appliances were a Mother's Day gift from Joe.
How old are you, Mr. Marquez?
I'm 23. I'll be 24 in a couple days.
Before you moved in with Miss Welfare and her 2 children, where were you living?
I was living with my parents.
And when did you move in with Miss Welfare?
I moved in with her in mid-October of 2003.
And how long did you live there?
I lived there until the beginning of April.
And where were you working during that time?
The whole time I was working at Denny's restaurant.
Part-time?
Part-time, yes. I also coached football at the local elementary school.
What was your financial arrangement when you were living with Miss Welfare?
We paid half. I paid $300, she paid $300.
For rent?
For rent, correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
What about the rest of the expenses?
We usually split those down the middle as well.
And what were you doing, Miss Welfare?
I also had 2 jobs. I was working at 2 separate restaurants.
Okay. This is what the complaint is about. The complaint says that while you were living there, you purchased a washer and dryer. When you moved out in April of 2004, you told Miss Welfare that she could keep them for a while because you had no place to take them because you were moving back with your parents. A year later, you finally get your own place. You let her know you want your washer and dryer back, and she said, forget it.
Actually, I did have a place to put them. I have a receipt for my storage space, which I purchased in April 17th of 04 as well, which was actually 5 days after I moved everything out of the apartment.
All right, so you didn't want to put it in your storage space because...
Well, she has 2 children, and we've been to the laundromat together, and it takes quite a long time to do laundry. And since my parents already had a washer and dryer, I had no need for them at that time. And I had just purchased them in March of that year, which had only been about a month. So I figured I might as well get some use out of them by leaving them at her apartment.
That's somewhat correct, but not completely correct.
23-year-old Joe Marquez is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old student Jamie Welfare, for selling his washer and dryer. Jamie claims the appliances were a Mother's Day gift from Joe.
Well, let me hear what your version of the events were.
When he bought those for me, it was an early Mother's Day gift. I was the one doing all the laundry. He never even did his own laundry. I was doing my laundry, his laundry, and both of my children's laundry. And between the 2 jobs and being at the laundromat all the time, it was a lot of time away. And so we had been discussing, you know, him buying a washer and dryer for me. And he was looking online and said, hey, come and pick the one you want. And so I picked the one I want. He gave them to me. When he moved out, I was sleeping when he moved out. You know, our relationship had gotten kind of rocky. There was never any discussion about me giving them back, ever.
When, for the first time, did you contact her with regard to retrieving these 2 items?
Your Honor, as she said, I moved out at the very beginning of April of 2004. We didn't talk for 2 weeks afterwards. After that, we phoned conversations, and actually on May 5th of 2004, she came over to my house, my parents' house, for a little Cinco de Mayo get-together. In May of 2004, I gave Miss Welfare $100 because she was having a rough time making it on her own in the apartment. And I have here a check for utilities/other stuff I gave to Miss Welfare for $100 to help her out.
Can you answer my question?
Sure.
You remember what my question was?
Yes, I do. Have we ever talked about it? About the washer and dryer?
When, for the first time, did you ask for it back?
I first asked for it back when I found out I was moving out with my current girlfriend, which was in March of 2005.
Okay, so between April of 2004 and March 2005, you had absolutely no discussion with her about this washer and dryer.
That is incorrect. When I gave her that check, which was dated May 20th of 04, we had discussed it. She actually wanted to purchase the washer and dryer fully. She wanted to give me payments per month. And I told her that since we were becoming good friends, I did not want the only conversation to be between us about the washer and dryer.
At that time, Mr. Marquez, did you believe that the friendship would rekindle into a relationship?
No. Actually, when we first broke up,
Mr. Marquez, don't insult my intelligence.
Sorry, Your Honor.
You don't go from being lovers to friends without somebody hoping for a little bit more.
That is correct. Yes.
So during that time, and during the time, according to you, she said, why don't you let me make payments on it? You said, no.
Correct.
And now you have a new girlfriend.
Yes, I do.
You moving into an apartment together?
We have currently moved into an apartment as of the 9th of April.
And I assume it doesn't have a washer and dryer.
Actually, it does. After this little skirmish between me and my ex-girlfriend, my current girlfriend, went out and purchased one, hoping it would make me feel a little bit better.
Did it?
I was very, very pleased that she would show that much friendship towards me. But I wasn't very angry about the washer and dryer. I was angry at the fact that she took me for granted that I was being nice and letting her borrow the washer and dryer when I could have just put them in my storage.
Get over it. There is something that doesn't ring true, sir, about your story that you told her more than a year ago, that I'm letting you use this piece of equipment that breaks down, that once it's used, it becomes less functional. I'm going to let you use that for as long as it takes. And it just so happens that the time that you want it back is when you're moving in with a new girlfriend. By the way, whose washer and dryer is the new one that was purchased?
It is hers.
I just want her to hear that.
Yes, I've told her that many times.
Very good. And you know whose this is?
Yes.
Hers. Thank you.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người. Đến với video ngày hôm nay, mình sẽ hướng dẫn cho mọi người cách để mình có thể móc ra được một em vịt xinh như thế này. Đây sẽ là sản phẩm mà mình sẽ hướng dẫn cho mọi người móc ngày hôm nay. Đầu tiên mình sẽ móc phần đầu của con vịt. Mọi người sẽ móc cho mình một vòng tròn ma thuật với 6 mũi đơn. Sau đó mọi người kéo lên. Kết hàng. Và ở hàng số 2 mọi người sẽ móc cho mình đó là 6 mũi V. Rồi, sau đó mọi người sẽ móc cho mình hàng móc số 2 với công thức đó là 1x và 1 tăng. Rồi, mình đã hoàn thành xong hàng móc số 3 và bây giờ mình sẽ hướng dẫn mọi người móc hàng số 4. Và ở hàng số 4 mọi người sẽ móc cho mình với công thức là 1x, 1 tăng và 1x. Rồi, mình đã hướng dẫn mọi người hoàn thành xong hàng móc số 4 và bây giờ mình sẽ hướng dẫn mọi người móc hàng số 5. Và ở hàng móc số 5, mọi người sẽ móc cho mình đó là 3x và một tăng. Vậy là mình đã hướng dẫn mọi người hoàn thành xong hàng móc số 5 như thế này.